I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Township of Morris Board of Adjustment for July 28th, 2025. The legal notice required in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act has been satisfied, and a statement certifying same will be executed. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Santiago, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Trachtenberg.
Here.
Ms. Polara.
Here.
Mr. Schuster.
Here.
Mr. Benoit.
Here.
Mr. Kramer.
Here.
Mr. Woodruff.
Here.
Mr. Ola.
Here.
Mr. Boish.
Here.
Ms. Keller.
Here.
Mr. Fishinger.
Here.
And I, Sonia Santiago, here.
All right. First is the resolution for BA-09-25. Mr. Oler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a memorializing resolution with respect to the application filed by Peter and Christine Kroonquist, who applied to the board for permission to modify an existing non-conforming dwelling by constructing a second-story addition over an existing one-story section of their dwelling, which required variance relief for side yard setback, as well as an expansion of the non-conforming structure. For the reasons that are set forth in the resolution, the application was conditionally granted with our standard conditions, as well as a condition that indicates that the applicant shall ensure that any installed floodlights are directed so that no light trespasses onto neighboring properties.
Okay. Board members, any questions? Any comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Ms. Santiago, roll call, please.
Mr. Trachtenberg.
Yes.
Ms. Polara.
Yes.
Mr. Benoit.
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Woodruff.
Yes.
So move.
Okay. Next, we move on to the public hearings. First is BA-11-25. Karen and Bruce Seidman. Ms. Santiago.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is application BA 11-25, Karen and Bruce Simon. This is block 3601, lot 7, 54 Schoolhouse Lane, in the RA 130 zone for section C. Applicant proposes installation of an 8-foot fence in the front, rear, and side yards, where fences located closer to a street line than the principal structure are not allowed.
Okay. Just for the record, I do know the applicants. I know Mr. Seidman through volunteering at the food pantry. He's on the board there. It's not going to cause me any problem hearing this application.
And therefore, I don't think it's a conflict for the chairman, unless you have an objection.
All right. Who's going to be speaking? Okay. Mr. Oler, you want to
Okay,
swear in?
yes, why don't we both stand up? I'll swear you both in, just in case you need to chime in as well. Would you both raise your right hands, please? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And for the record, your names, please?
Karen Salvin.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Why don't you explain what this program is first so we get an understanding of why we're seeking the variance?
So it's under the farm assessment program, which I believe is through the Department of Agriculture. But we inherited a woodland management plan, which is a farm assessment plan. But it's managed through New Jersey Forestry, the Forest Service, New Jersey Forest Service. And we have a hired consulting forester. That's a state requirement to have a consulting forester. They write up a plan, and under that plan, we are required to do various things. It used to be that this woodland management plan required you selling agricultural products, which when we took over, we had to do that. So we sold firewood. But as I guess the state forests were maybe deteriorating, the Department of Agriculture created a new category called a forest stewardship plan, which as I have a written statement, and I'll explain it, but they removed the requirement to sell anything, but they upped the requirements to maintain the forest and to restore the forest.
Okay.
So basically, it's a farm assessment
All
for
right.
woodlands and forest.
And you've submitted that plan to the state, you have said you have a written statement. Why don't you go through it?
Okay, I'll go ahead with that. My husband Bruce and I moved to Morris Township in December 2015. We inherited an existing farm-assessed woodland management plan that was begun in 2012. It quickly became very important to us to do our best to continue to restore the 6.5 acres of woodlands. When it came time to renew the plan in 2022, our consulting forester recommended that we step up to a forest stewardship plan, which would remove the requirement for selling firewood and increase the requirements for repairing, improving, and maintaining the forest. We were more than happy to escalate it since we had already seen increases in beneficial insects, amphibians, and other wildlife, as well as the appearance of native plants where we had removed the invasives. The problem has been, and remains, getting the tree seedlings and other native plants to grow before being obliterated by the deer. The tree seedlings are particularly important to regrow because the property has already lost its ash trees, and we are now quickly losing the beech trees to beech leaf disease. The property came with a 6-foot deer fence that encloses only part of the yard surrounding the back of the house. The deer can easily jump it. We tried to protect a larger area in the backwoods by installing some 6-foot stockade fencing as well as some higher deer netting, but unfortunately, this also does not keep out the deer. When I learned that the New Jersey Department of Agriculture had just made available funds for deer fencing for properties under a forest stewardship plan, we quickly applied and were approved. The fence is required to be built in accordance with the Department of Agriculture specs, and the grant is designed to cover half of our cost of the fencing. We have a stream that crosses the property in 2 areas. The proposed deer fence would not cross the stream or sit in the stream channel, and the deer fence would not require NJDEP permitting. We understand there's a township ordinance regarding the 8-foot fencing, as well as fencing in front of one's home, and I'd like to explain why we need a variance for both. First, deer can and do easily jump a 6-foot fence. Second, approximately 30% of the property is in the front of the house and is included in our forest stewardship plan, and in order to comply with the plan and to restore the area, it needs to be fenced. Third, we have an abundance of beech trees in the front part of the property that are now quickly dying because of beech leaf disease. We will need to replace them with other native trees and understory plants, and they will never survive if they're not protected. As I said, the deer fence would be installed according to New Jersey Department of Agriculture standards and NJDEP requirements. The fence would sit approximately 130 feet away from the street. Because of both the construction of the fencing and its distance from the road, it will not be visible from Schoolhouse Lane. We have worked very hard to abide by our forestry plan to restore the woodlands. The plan requires deer population management or exclusion, and to date, we have not been able to do that successfully. As I mentioned, we've been approved for a grant for deer fencing from the New Jersey Department of Agriculture, and we've been approved by the NJDEP to install the deer fencing without their permit. We respectfully request your approval of a variance to install the deer fence so that we can continue to abide by our forestry stewardship plan and can continue to restore and maintain the woodlands. Thank you.
So you had in the packet, you had an estimate for the cost of the deer fence, and you've submitted that to DEP, Department of Agriculture, the Forestry
Yes.
Service, and they've
Yes.
approved of that.
They've approved it.
And
Yes.
that's the basis for the grant.
Correct.
Okay. And they're requiring the 8-foot fence.
Yes, that's their standard. Yes.
Okay. Board members, and the fence, just for, the stream runs about 150, 170 feet from the Schoolhouse Lane,
The
180.
stream is approximately 110 feet away from Schoolhouse Lane, and we proposed the fence would be built beyond that, closer to our house.
Right.
And the stream is parallel to Schoolhouse, and the fence would be parallel also to Schoolhouse Lane.
And you're also going to put in deer grate.
Yes, so that we don't have to put a gate around the driveway. Yes.
Board members, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, just one clarification. On the denial permit, it has a drawing of the fence going against the street. But then the other drawing shows it, as you've just described, 100 and some feet away. So I just want to confirm that this drawing on the permit denial is not the correct one,
That
and the
is
other one is
correct.
correct.
It's the fence being further away. That's correct.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other board members with questions? Any member of the public with any questions? Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay. Any member of the public wish to comment on this application? Seeing none, hearing none, close the public portion. Any board members, any comments? Yes.
This is a lot better than what Madison's done. With the Drew Forest, that deer fence is right along the Wanaka.
Right.
This is not a heavily traveled road. I think this is fine.
Okay.
Andy knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You see it all the time.
Okay. Any other board members with comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move that we approve with our typical provisos.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Trachtenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Ms. Fulara.
Yes.
Mr. Benoit,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Woodford.
Yes.
So moved.
You got it. So a resolution will be prepared for the next meeting. And then you can proceed. Any permits they need, they can apply for, correct?
That's up to the town. So accept it before resolution.
Essentially creating a memorialization resolution for construction process. Actually, it would be my verification just that this was memorialized. So
Okay.
it's not going to be construction code. It will only be zoning concurrence by my office.
Okay,
Just for effect.
all right. You're all set. It
Okay. Thank you.
was good to see you.
Thank you.
Email. Okay.
Okay. Next matter is BA-04-25, 383 South Street LLC.
.383. This is application BA 04-25, 383 South Street LLC, Block 7307, lots 2 and 8, 383 South Street in the RA 15 zone for section D and C. Applicant proposes modification and improvement to the existing garden. Applicant proposes to utilize a portion of the building space for small events and functions, as well as a coffee stand with associated seating.
Okay. Mr. Cali, can we have your appearance, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Nice to see you. Nice to see everybody this evening. On behalf of the applicant, 383 South Street LLC, Larry Cali. We thank you folks for having us tonight. I know the summer is hard to get a quorum, and we've got a full board here.
Yes, but I do want to point out that we started with a full board,
Yeah.
but someone had a personal matter come up unexpectedly, of course, and had to leave. So as you can see, we have 6.
We're down to 6, okay. Thank you, Rich.
It's up to you if you want to go forward. We have a transcript.
Yeah, we're
For
gonna,
the
I
next
think
meeting.
the intent is to proceed tonight. The applicant is very eager to hopefully get this project off the ground. They're very excited about the property that they acquired last year, so they're looking forward to moving us along. We'll see how far we get this evening, and we might have to have a discussion. If we have that problem of deciding whether or not we put it to a vote with 6, we're in a good position. That means we got pretty far in our project, so we'll just move forward for now, I think is the plan.
Very good.
Briefly, Mr. Chairman, members, before we get started, again, thank you all for having us this evening. The applicant is incredibly excited to be here before the board. I hope the board members have seen this property during the course of the pendency of this application before the board. It's a fantastic property. It's been getting revitalized in so many ways. Permit-only work to date, nothing related to the site plan aspect of it, but it's quite an impressive property that's been given new life thanks to the ownership of the Bruin family, many members of which are here tonight. They live and breathe this property, and they're living and breathing the zoning process for certain. So all fully invested in this application tonight, Mr. Chair and members. For the record, and just to sort of paint the picture of where we're going to go tonight. You're stealing that back from me? 383 South Street, I know the board knows the property. It's right down the block. It was formerly a garden center, as the board knows, for many, many years. I want to say decades. For the record, it's lot 2 and 8 in block 7307. It's an RA15 zone. We have multiple frontages on this property. We front primarily on South Street. That's our access point. Pear Street, Whitney Avenue, all has frontage for this very, very strangely configured property that's about 2.5 acres in size. It was a commercial use for that garden center for decades. Like I said, there are a number of commercial structures on the property. There's various accessory improvements. The residential dwelling that had been there, it's still there. The applicant is under this current ownership as of last year, intent on continuing that use of the property as a garden center and expanding that use, both expanding it in breadth of the use and the aesthetic and functional improvements to the property as well. It's developing new structures and areas. It's improving and rehabbing what was there. Some structures have already been raised, and the garden center use will continue to grow. There's greenhouses, there's garden bays, there's going to be a gift shop and flower shop. There's outdoor courtyard areas. I'm sure you've seen if you've inspected the property. And there's material display, both indoors and outdoors, that are for sale items. The applicant obviously has off-street parking accommodations on the side and to the rear, ample enough for the business. What is different about this, and part of what brings us to the Board of Adjustment for review, is essentially the expansion of that use with what we're describing as a welcome center, where there's going to be coffee and refreshments for sale to people that are already patronizing the garden center. It's an ancillary accommodation to the garden center. It's not a destination to go buy coffee in the morning before you head to the office. It's going to have some seating for folks that are coming in as they're shopping to sit down, about 20 seats. Our architect will walk you through that shortly, but that's part of what we're expanding. The other item that's new, and we're going to testify in more detail with operation shortly, is what we're calling the event space. The event space is an upper floor of an existing structure, a little over 2,000 square feet, and it's going to be for scheduled functions and events, industry-related, social events throughout the course of the week and weekend. It's going to work congruent with the garden center operations in a manner where it won't impede garden center operations. It will not be an overbreadth of use of the property. It's going to work sort of with it, cohesively, self-contained, operated, and run by ownership of this property for this event space that can accommodate up to about 48 people, no more than that, in this 2,100 and change square foot second floor space to have these events. We're going to get to that shortly with operational testimony. But those items are primarily what brings us before this board for the D relief, the use relief, the D1 and D2 relief. We think a lot of it's couched as D2. We had a lot of discussions with the TCC as to whether or not there's a D1 component. In an abundance of caution, Mr. Tobiat will put on the record proofs as to the D1 support and the D2 support when we get to that. There's also some ancillary bulk variance relief. We'll let our project engineer describe it shortly, and we'll justify it thereafter with planning testimony. But we've got some limited bulk relief for setback, impervious coverage, which is actually getting reduced as proposed, but it still exceeds the ordinance allowance. And then the fence height in the location that breaches the front yard plane of the structure, which is limited to 3.5 feet tall, and we've got 6 feet fencing out there. So there's some limited bulk relief as well. Overall, this is a very nice project, we think, for the township and the surrounding areas for this garden center that's trying to be competitive and evolve with what garden centers thematically seem to be doing in the area and in the Northeast, which is doing more than just selling plants outside. There's a little bit of little bells and whistles to it, if you will, and we'll explain that shortly as to what we're doing here to give this sort of an enhanced breadth of life on this property, and it's quite impressive as it is now. And again, I hope the board members have seen it to date. We're going to explain it in much more detail, Mr. Chairman and members. First, we're going to have some operational testimony. We're going to do something we've done with this board in the past at times when we've had some detail and somewhat circular discussion of operations. Just to be efficient, we're going to have Michael Tobia take the lead on operational testimony. Michael is thoroughly aware of all the operational details, both existing and proposed, and familiar with the site. We're going to bring up as a companion witness one of the members of the Bruin family, one of the principals of the LLC, Matt Bruin. We'll swear them both in. Mr. Chairman, we might as well qualify Mr. Tobia when he's up here. This way, when he gets back later and testifies as a planner, he's already qualified. But that will be effectively our first companion witness on operations, Mr. Tobia and Mr. Bruin. We'll then move to project civil engineering site plan testimony. The scrivener of record is Fred Stewart. Fred will come up next and testify as to the site plan layout, existing and proposed conditions. Like I said, Fred's got a nice story to tell. There's been a net reduction of impervious areas, net reduction of overall building structures on the site. The programming is tightening up from what was there under prior ownership in many ways. Thereafter, we'll go to architectural testimony. Very, very nice, well-appointed structures. Mr. Solfaro is our scrivener of the architectural plans. He will testify as to the floor and elevation plans as we walk you through the different areas and uses of the property. We've got traffic engineering here with us. We've got D-Relief. We don't take that lightly. We think it is very appreciable under the circumstances, but because we have D-Relief, we want the board to have the comfort level there with our varied access points that folks can get in and out adequately and safely. We're not going to undermine or compromise the abutting lesser intense residential uses, which we have on either side of us and to our rear. And we want to make sure that we're parked properly and adequately for our use. So we have Craig Perigoy of Dynamic Traffic, who submitted 2 reports, an initial traffic impact study and parking assessment, and then thereafter a response to Mr. Fissinger's June report, clarifying some items. So we'll let Mr. Perigoy testify thereafter. And then, of course, hopefully time permitted, we'll come back to Mr. Tobia, and Michael will testify as to the variance relief that I described to the board at a high level thereafter. And that effectively will be our case that we intend to present, Mr. Chairman, and hopefully we can get to those folks this evening.
Okay. You may begin.
Very good. Thank you, sir. So we'll do the swearing in of both, whichever you want to do. We're going to have Michael.
If you have two that are going to tag team, let's do both.
We do, yes.
Yeah, sure. Would you both raise your right hands, please? You solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
And would you give me your names for the record, please?
My name is Matthew Bruin, M-A-T-T-H-E-W, last name Bruin, B-R-U-I-N.
And Michael Tobia, T-O-B-I-A, applicant's planning consultant.
And Matthew, you're affiliated with the applicant entity 383 South Street LLC as a member of that entity, I believe, and a member of the principal family that owns this property. Is that right?
That is right.
And you'll be testifying in a lay capacity. As the board knows, Mr. Tobia testifies here regularly as a licensed professional planner. He's probably not going to weave in planning support right now to the operations, but just to qualify him, Michael, I assume your planning licenses remain current and in good standing as of this date?
Yes, it is.
So ultimately, he will be testifying in capacity as a planner, Mr. Chairman.
We're well familiar with Mr. Tobia.
And despite that, you're going to let me testify?
Yes.
Yeah, well said. Okay, so this might be a tag team. Michael is probably going to take lead. Matthew may interject and answer questions if it gets peculiarly beyond Mr. Tobia's knowledge, but for now, we're going to let Michael walk the board through the existing and proposed operations at a relatively high level. We did submit the PowerPoint deck. Sonia, you should have that already. It's up on the screen right now. We'll mark this, Rich, as
A1 as a group. Yeah, A1.
Michael, is this the one? Okay.
Yeah, it's a multi-page deck. It was about 18 pages last I checked. It might have grown a little bit, but it's a PowerPoint presentation dated today, prepared by Mr. Tobia's office.
Okay. So, hi, everybody. Nice to be back in the room again. We're going to do something unusual before we start. This is a family affair, so I thought what I would do is introduce our applicants. We're not a room full of objectors tonight, they're a room full of family members. We have Michael, husband and patriarch of the family. We have Barbara, mommy of the family. As you know, we have Matt. Then we have Michael. And we have Ryan. And we have Robert. It took me about an hour to get this all down. I think watching is Cameron, right? And Theus. You get it right? Right. But anyway, we have family members watching. And then we have Dave Forchheimer, partner with the outfit as well, broadly known as the Bruin family. Okay. So what we're going to do is walk you through the site. A lot of really interesting aspects to the property. A1 is called 383 South Street LLC. It's up on the monitor. It's 383 South Street. Anyone who's been around town for a long while in gardens should know this building. I was buying flowers back here over 30 years ago when it was called Glendale Forest. And Glendale predates seemingly every ordinance in the town. I was told by Mr. Bruin, Mr. Michael Bruin, probably in operation for over 100 years, not only as a florist, but even as a wholesaler. Modest building over the years, certainly not with the improvements the Bruin family have put into the site now. This is a vintage sign we found at the back of the building. So old, they even say they will telegraph flowers back then. So that shows how far this goes back. Let's show you an aerial photo. We have South Street on this slide, runs through the center of the property from north to south. And it's just to the west of South Street where we have a street called Pear Street. Pear Street's a town road, under-improved. We also have Whitney Avenue. South of the site, Pear Street is just north of the site. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. To the south of this is Southgate Parkway, where we have our large office complex, some of the biggest buildings in town. Just south of that, board members will recall an app that I did about a year ago for a doggy daycare center, right? One call away. Looks like it's getting ready to open. They've done a lot of work on that building, but we're just maybe a quarter mile north of that site. Schoolhouse Plaza is to the north of where we are, that converted school building. It's been in office use for 40 years. The Bruins now actually hold a suite in that building to be close to the garden center and the work they're doing. If you come out Pear Street, make a quick left, you're on Dryer Lane, which at the end terminates to where we are here in this building. So you could probably be at this site in 15 seconds if you get across Woodland quickly enough. Okay, so that's where we are. Behind us, incidentally, big, huge tract of open space. There are scattered homes in the area, 2 on Pear Street, 3 on Whitney, 1 behind us on Prospect Place. That's near the rear yard of the site. So it's a mixed use area. Route 287 is really close to us over on the far left of the exhibit. So what I'm going to do now is walk you through the site. I thought I'd put up this key map for a second. It's sheet 3 of your site plan. I'm just going to show you where everything is. South Street on the right. The photos will come in from South Street and proceed with a left on Pear and go all the way down to the back of Pear Street. We'll explain all the buildings as we move along. Okay. When you're on South Street, if you came out of Dwyer Lane right now and you looked into the site, this is what you would see. Garden centers are really nice because much of them are covered with plant material. But basically, the whole site looks kind of landscape. The site has a fence in the front yard. You see the sign to the use over on the right, but it's 204 feet back to the nearest building. So although it's a commercial use, it's really set back from the street with minimal visual impact on South Street. pull in the driveway to South Street Gardens. We have a temporary sign up at the front of the street, more on that later, but we have an identifier here. This used to be the place where the Greendale Florist sign hung for many years. Sorry about that. So everything about this site, 99% of it is located on Pear Street. You can see Pear Street is part macadam, part gravel now. There are two homes that service Pear Street on the right side, but basically this is a private driveway into South Street Gardens. On the left, you'll see plant material the Bruins have planted over the last many months. And so we're going to proceed down Pear Street for about 400 feet until we can start turning into parking facilities on the property. There are several very old, very interesting buildings on the site. This one is called the Welcome Center. It's a dilapidated building right now. It used to be the boiler room for the whole Glendale Forest site. One story, pretty small building, but this Welcome Center is one of the important additions we're proposing to the board because it will basically become a refreshment center for the use. That's going to be coffee, waters, teas, iced teas, cocoa, hot cocoa, things like that. And it's going to lead into an area where there will be some seating for our coffee lovers, as well as the same area that will be devoted to a lot of retail sales of plants. Proceeding a little bit further to the west on Pear Street is a house shown on the left of this slide. And the Bruins have renovated the outside of this house. Looks really good. It matches all the other buildings on the site. Inside, it's a complete train wreck. There are still electrical wiring and switches in this building that date back practically to the days of Thomas Edison. And they all still work, okay? But the inside's been gutted. It's awaiting permits and approvals from this board to continue to be used what it was used for historically, which is a house. The only catch is now the proposal by the Bruins will be to make it a house exclusively used as a caretaker resident occupied by one of the family members, so that we have more or less 24/7 supervision and observation of this site. It will not be a rental. It will not be a rental to a regular free market rental.
So it'll basically be somebody associated with the garden center.
Correct, Mr. Chairman. Exactly. Okay.
Is that acceptable as a condition to any approval?
Yes.
Okay. It is. We're doing that because garden centers, as you may know, are largely unsecured areas. At night, you have a heck of a lot of plant material outside. You have furniture outside. And some of this yard is fenced, but a presence in that building full-time will help secure the property. All that does, I don't think we're asking for any kind of approval on that. It just repeats the residential use that's been on the property for decades.
How long has the property, the residence been vacant, if at all?
Well, the whole use has been vacant for approximately 2.5 years now.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're on slide 10. Here's the best shot I could give you of South Street Gardens, the main building, I would call it. On the right is a building known as the Home Shop, where there'll be retail sales of pottery, flowers, stationery, candles, wreaths, things like that. Moving to the left is a flower shop, exactly where the building was 30 years ago or more when I used to buy flowers at this place. And the right, a related building, also with retail sales and loading at the back. these buildings exist exactly where they have existed historically. The Bruins have renovated them. These buildings, because they were part of the original garden center, have just been getting permits for renovation for months now. I point out my clients behind me have put approximately $4 million of investment into this property since they bought it about 2 years and 5 months ago. Okay, so what you see here, and Mr. Stewart will explain this, but basically you'll have a parking area in front of these buildings. You'll have an entrance into the gift shop on the right. That's the covered portico you see there. You'll have an entrance into the flower shop in the middle, and a man door also on the building on the left. Access to the overall garden center will be through paver stones and an open area further left on slide 10. Behind the building is a large parking lot that holds the vast majority of the 82 stalls on the site. So we also put a man door and portico at the back of the building so that retail shoppers could go directly into the back of the building. And there will be another man door here for the proposed event space that I'll talk to you about in a second. And let's go back one slide. So we're here for two main reasons: approval of an event space and approval of our refreshment center, neither of which was affiliated with Glendale back in the day. The event space will take place on the second floor, I'm circling it now, of the home shop. Big wide open space. It's been roughed out, partially sheetrocked, some electricals in, all with permits, and it awaits your approval to turn it into an event space. What will happen in the event space is scheduled events, fully supervised by the Bruins, with someone from the business always on the site when the event spaces are taking place. And you'll be doing nice things such as parties, floral design, gardening courses, wreath making, terrarium making, butterfly gardening. These are all things Larry does just all the time. Seasonal community functions, home decor, parties, and fundraisers. Okay, we'll show you a picture of this when we get to architectural testimony. But the overarching goal of the idea of the event space is to create garden-focused, nature-focused, community-driven events. You have 48 seats up there, approximately, 2 means of egress, and it will be open broadly from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Those will be the hours. It won't be open that long. Those will be the hours in which events are permitted to take place. The Bruins tell me they're expecting 4 to 7 events a week. Okay, 4 to 7. So that'll be the space. It can be catered by outside parties coming in. No alcohol is served in the building unless caterers bring it in. Everything goes through the Bruin family in terms of when things are scheduled. They're all vetted to make sure it's something they want to do in the building. And that will be the event space. The event space is provided with a front and back door and 2 staircases up to the second floor. So when we go to our next slide, slide 11, we're now at the rear entrance to the building. This has been designed because the main parking lot is behind this building to have people who can go into the home shop with the entranceway you see left of center, or to another man door at the far end of this building that will take you up a stair into the event space. There's another staircase, you can see it on the far right of slide 11, that'll also take you up to the event space. Okay. Because this wasn't affiliated with Glendale, we have viewed it as an expansion of the old garden center use. I view it as an expansion of what we're calling a non-conforming use. Remember, this whole thing's in a residential zone. Residential zones don't permit the use. No zone in town permits the use. So I'm viewing this as an expansion of that use, so closely affiliated with the use that I think it's only accessory to the garden center. If you want to call it, Mr. Oler, a freestanding use.
I don't think there's any question that's a D1, right? It's a new use. It hasn't been there. It's not really an expansion of what you would consider to be a floral shop or what has historically been on the site. You know, I just think that's a D1. I think that's entirely new to the site.
You all said that during TCC. I know. We'll put a case on for both. Proofs are basically the same, but we'll recognize it as D1. Okay.
Yes, I agree, and that is what the TCC report
Yeah,
said,
that's
so
right,
we've gone over this,
Right.
and, you know,
Right.
it's fine.
So we have a parking lot in front of all those buildings I just described to you, shown at slide 12. We went over parking incidentally with TCC quite a bit. And we also know, sorry, I'm messing up my own slide here. We're compliant on parking, but there's a main body of parking right in front of those buildings that's actually on-street parking. It's in the Pear Street right-of-way. Whereas all the other stalls on the site, that number 82, are on the private property.
So the stalls we're looking at on slide 12, is that in the right of way? Those, you have about a half a dozen cars there.
Correct.
That's in the right of way?
10 stalls there in the right-of-way. Okay. No one else is going to be using them, I mean, because of where they are on the site, but they've been there. And they're the first spaces you would use if you want to go shopping on this site. If you want to go to the event space, you're going to go to the back parking lot, which is pretty big. The applicant's already planted 150 plants on this site. Here you see some evergreens they planted. They've worked with the neighbors on landscaping and on fencing to protect the several single-family homeowners nearby, with the big contribution being 150 plants found on the site so far. So inside, this is the home shop. Thought I'd give you a peek at it. This being slide 14. A lot of home sales that you would associate with the garden center related sales. And then we get into outdoor sales, which basically take place in uncovered sales areas, just like they did with Glendale, that are on paver stone patios, slide 15, or in greenhouses. There are 3 greenhouses on the site, and same thing happens there. Plant sales, accessory sales, pots, decor items, typical greenhouse items. So I think my final slide here, 17, is the proposed event space. Applicants did as much as they could with permits to finish this without getting the approvals that we need from this board to call it event space. But this is what it looks like now. Big high ceilings, a lot of windows, and that'll be where the 48 seats go and the various activities. So that is my walkthrough of the site. And now what's happening also, so we got permission to open the use, first for outdoor sales. Now it's open for indoor sales as well. A lot of other things have been put on hold, waiting for board approval, including finishing this event space, finishing the coffee shop, finishing the welcome center. All site lighting awaits site plan approval. Signs await site plan approval. And there's a freestanding sign out at the street that awaits county approval. Mr. Stewart will explain that more in a minute. Okay. So that's the introduction. Our variances, if I can go through these very quickly with you so you understand it, are pretty narrow. As Mr. Oler said, we'll go for a use variance on the event space. I'll explain that later. Coffee shop, I think that's so integrated, Mr. Oler, into the garden center use. I would call that an expansion rather than a new use. We'll put proofs on both ways. Ms. Keller, throw something at me if you disagree, but we'll go both ways on it.
I think you should present both
Yeah.
proofs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand it's accessory, but it's accessory to a pre-existing non-conforming use, and so therefore it's not part of the pre-existing non-conforming use. That's how I would look at it. So because I think that there wasn't a coffee shop there,
Sure.
So it's, I think since you're already putting on testimony for the D1 for something else, I think it's for everyone's sake, I think it's just easier to just treat this the same. And that way you'll have something clean going forward. You'll know exactly what was approved.
So, okay, agreed. So those are our D variances. We also have an impervious coverage variance. Right now, 45% is permitted on this property. 51.4% is existing. The applicant is reducing coverage significantly down to 47.2%, reduction of about 4,400 square feet of reduced impervious. Mr. Storer will explain how he did that when he testifies. Several buildings and greenhouses on this site, incidentally, have been removed. An old apartment has been removed also. So the applicant's really downsized this property into the quality buildings that you see on the site now. But that's an impervious coverage variance that is needed. Front yard setback variances are needed for two existing conditions. We're not moving those buildings, but one is on Pear Street with 50 feet required, 0.7 foot existing. That's that so-called boiler room I told you about. And then back on Whitney Avenue, we have a building that gets within 14.8 feet of the street with 20 feet required.
20?
20.
have
Actually,
a front
you know,
yard?
strike that. That should be 50 also, front yard. We talked
Right.
about that at TCC too, didn't we?
Right.
50 feet required,
And what's existing?
14.8. Then we have a fence in the front yard. It's 5 feet high. 3.5 feet's the permitted fence height in front yards in all zones in the town. And we have a little bit of a fence near Whitney that gets 6 feet high, whereas only that 3.5 foot standard is permitted
So where's the 5-foot fence with
across the front on South Street.
South Street?
We're going to ask you for both of those. First of all, those fences are up. They were permitted. But as I said before, we have a concern with security, theft, what happens in the dark of night. We think higher fences give us a little more security. The fence on Whitney is 6 feet in an area where we have a home pretty close to that driveway out on Whitney. We think we get a little more privacy achieved with the higher fence. That's where I want to stop for now, Mr. Chairman, because I think we have some good witnesses coming up on engineering, architecture, and traffic. But if you have any questions on that background information, I'll be happy to answer.
Does Mr. Bruin have anything to add on those uses? Because we said you're going to tag team.
I think we anticipated Matt Bruin answering questions that maybe Mr. Toby know the answer to specifically.
Okay.
But Michael Toby had captured everything that I had in my notes. Matt, if there's anything you wanted to add, you can, but
I think you did a very well job at capturing kind of what our vision was for this property.
Excuse me, you need to speak into the microphone, sorry.
I believe he represented what our vision was from the very start. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
And let me,
One of my questions concerns when you say parties, are these like events that are detached from the uses and function of the garden center? Like birthday parties, wedding receptions, or are they like all related in some aspect to the garden or garden-related products?
So really from starting the nursery, my family comes from the landscaping background. So it's been a dream of ours to open up a garden center facility to just complement the business that my parents started over 30 years ago. With that, kind of as we brought the space to life and visited countless garden centers from around the area, I think my parents have done a good job at visiting every garden center within a 5-hour radius of here. But a lot of them have gotten creative with offering different courses, a different space, running a family business. Definitely a lot of stressful situations, and always trying to make sure that we can stay open. I think one of the coolest parts about my job is that I get to work with my family every single day. And as we started the nursery, we kind of thought of the event space as a space to hold workshops, to bring garden clubs in, to utilize the space. Since we started, this almost acted as a bonus space for us, where we were originally going to put offices. But in an effort of kind of building off of the business that's currently running there, we saw it as a opportunity to host garden clubs, stuff like that, workshops, and then not limit it, but if someone wanted to rent the facility for a small celebration, you're in kind of like a lifestyle home place, that it would be a great complement. It would help us keep our doors open year round when we're in our slower period. So,
And Matt, the intent, regardless of who is utilizing that space for a function, you know, on the weekends, we know it could be 11 to 10. Weekdays, we anticipate it probably starting more like 5 to 10, 10 o'clock, we're done. Regardless of who's in that space for whatever duration of time, someone from the Bruin family will be on site and effectively in control of management of that operation from start to finish. Is that right?
that is correct. Since we've opened our doors from the beginning, one of us has always been on site. We're try to be as organized as possible as we get open here, but we will always be on site. This is a big family business. A lot of people open businesses and leave, and that's certainly not what we're doing here. We've loved the neighborhood, that we've met all of our neighbors. We love them. We've been working with them, and this is kind of something that it's been my family's dream to open up. So we're very prideful of the business we're building. And I wouldn't be able to work as much as I do if I did not love what I was doing. So,
There was mention of alcohol. Would that be like,
That's where I was gonna go.
would that be people, like, if there's a party, people bringing it in, you wouldn't be supplying any alcohol?
we would not be
Would
supplying.
it be the responsibility of the people holding the function?
But it's your facility. Have you explored this with the local alcoholic beverage control, which is Morris Township Police Department? Where they are on this?
We have not.
They'll get to that point, I think, once we get through zoning, but the intent is not for the applicant to directly promote, offer, or sell alcoholic beverages on the property on a BYO basis. They'll have to navigate that.
I
The PD
understand.
Ultimately, yeah.
You have a task in front of you.
They very well might, yeah.
Yeah, I just wondered if they had explored that.
If you use a
because-
caterer and the caterer has a license, that's all you need.
And I think that's what is likely anticipated here.
But what about a function where there's no caterer and people are like showing up, like, say it's a potluck or something?
If it's not permitted, then they're not going to be doing it. You know, the applicant's interests are very much aligned with the board in that respect. While the board doesn't want Animal House here on the property, nor should you have it, the applicant really doesn't on this property. They've invested millions in. It's a beautiful property, beautiful space. It's partially why they're going to locate a family member on the site to live there on the property. It's a tremendous investment they've made. They're as interested as anybody in making sure that what happens up there is nothing untoward and it's all by the book whenever it does happen. And to that end, Mr. Woodford and board members, the space is relatively large. The number 48 wasn't just landed on because we're maxing it out. You know, oftentimes you'll take a space, you'll maximize your load capacity with the building fire code capacity. And say, we're gonna no more than 100 people in here. Well, that's the code capacity for the room. Of course, you get more than 100. This room could hold more than double what the Bruin family intends on maximizing it. They spec'd it out, they designed it. The architect will show you the layout, the rendering he has. They want to be modest. They don't want to be piggish or garish about how they're going to utilize this space. They want it to be quaint, comfortable, elegant, and higher end. And that's part of why they've landed on that number. It wasn't just, picked out of a hat, 48. You'll see why and how they got there. It's a very limited use intended for the space. And the alcohol use, the reason I said is the alcohol use is only going to be by the book, whatever is permitted or not, but it's going to be controlled, even if it is permitted, because, again, the applicant doesn't want this turning into something it should not be on their beautiful property and invested so many millions in.
Another question I had is about, is there any requirement for handicap access to the second floor?
Our architect could probably walk you through that, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I'm not certain what the barrier-free requirement is going to be for that, but our project architect can I'm sure, answer that question shortly when he gets up there.
Okay, great.
Let me jump in. I forgot to mention a couple of things. Regarding the coffee shop, open from 7 to 4, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I don't know if I mentioned, but like specialty drinks only, right? Pastries are brought in, no cooking, no food service in the building.
So it's just basically making coffee and maybe having a refrigerator for different drinks, bottled drinks.
What I'll say in visiting many garden centers, the way that we've kind of designed, the way that we merchandise our things is to inspire people as they walk through, not only to just walk around and see what they can do with their properties, but have a cup of coffee so you can enjoy I'm calling it the gardens because it feels like that. So you could grab a cup of coffee, sit down, grab a cup of coffee, enjoy the space. And it's just a way to make the experience a little more enjoyable for the consumer coming in.
And think about what they want to buy.
Yes, and hopefully take home a few things.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question on
Yes.
that. We have a review from the health department. It's dated back in February where they state that even if they're not cooking anything on the premises, it's still a retail food license is required. Or can the applicant comply with everything that the health department says in this letter?
The answer is yes. I can't see you over there, but the applicant's already been working with the
Okay,
health department.
I figured since this is dated February, if there was probably an update, but I just wanted to make sure that, it sounds like you're well aware that you have to do
When I
all
come
that.
back, I'm
They'll
gonna
have to comply.
Yes.
give you some conditions of approval that will be
Okay.
one.
Okay. Yeah, and so this letter, which should be in your packets, but it basically just
Yes.
says even if you're not cooking anything, it's still a retail food establishment, and there's a whole checklist, which not an issue, but they just have to make sure that they do it.
Board members, any questions of those witnesses?
Just one quick follow-up along those lines. So one of our concerns, of course, would be noise. So if you're going to have parties or whatever at night, music, the neighbors. So we want to be sure that the volume is down, and I don't know what you have plans for that, but, we don't want complaints.
I'm sorry, you have something more?
Yeah, I think the character of the business that we're trying to build is, other than me wanting to go home sometimes, I think using the space to elevate the experience at the garden center. And I think we pride ourselves on being as respectful, and even more respectful than I would hope other businesses are. I think during the mornings, I'm not touching a leaf blower or anything until well into the morning where it's afternoon. It's practices that we're already practicing, and I like to be as organized as possible, and I don't plan for it to be a loud place, more just a part of what the business we're trying to build. It's elegant, it's quiet, you can go through the gardens, enjoy yourself, and it's just events that kind of fit the character of that. It's not by any means like a place to get rowdy, I wouldn't say. Sorry.
Just to add to that, it's funny, every time we talk to this applicant, Mr. Bruin, Mike Senior, the neighbors love these folks. They have so many friends in their neighbors. I always thought neighbors hated each other. I think it might just be me that neighbors don't like my whole time, because these neighbors love these folks. So I don't think they're going to do anything to ruin that relationship that's been growing in a very positive way, particularly with noise levels. They're very mindful of the residents immediately around them. And again, if we get to the point where the board deliberates and considers perhaps an affirmative vote, we're amenable to all reasonable conditions that would be thrown on the table for us to consider to ensure that we're not going to violate those lesser intense uses that are around us or impact them in any way.
Is there any-
So there'd be no outside speakers?
I don't think outside applications have attended, I don't think, right?
Not at the moment. There's speakers, but it's very minimal for just retail experience. There's
In
nothing.
other words, can somebody come help some customer back here? Or can you pull,
Speaking those speakers?
Like a little music or something.
In daytime, outdoors, there are speakers, outdoor speakers just for ambiance music.
okay.
But at night, you're not gonna hear, you're not gonna hear a Guns N' Roses concert amplified outdoors at night.
No Nirvana?
No Nirvana. That is more mellow music though. Nirvana's getting there, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, because I know that the statement of operations had offered 10 PM is kind of the limit on any events, so.
Right. Okay. Any other board members with questions? Mr. Shusky?
Do you guys have any outdoor spaces that would be suitable for events? And if so, would you consider in the future extending the event operation to an outside area?
I think you'd have to come back before the board. Wouldn't they have to come back
Yeah.
before the board?
If it's outside of what the current proposal is, they definitely have to come
Oh,
back.
and I'm just saying, if they have a big lawn area and they're like, hey, this is a beautiful space. Can we throw up a tent here and have an event? Would that fall under this, or that's their
No,
own thing?
That would not. Yeah,
Okay.
I think, if you're talking about something, if they're doing like like 6 people doing something gardening related outside during the day, maybe that's an accessory use.
Okay.
But nothing with a tent or anything of that nature, because that would be fully outdoor event.
Right, and what I think you're getting at is, would there be some kind, like if you had a 48-person, I don't know, wedding or similar type party, right, with a small band, there'd be no outside use associated with that particular party. Is that where you're going?
I
So
just don't know if there's
There's no cocktail hour
a
outside.
possibility to extend the event space into another area, and if
Right.
so, would that even fall under our purview?
Well, yes.
Okay.
It would fall under your purview,
Yes.
yeah, and I think the event space now, as testified to by Messrs. Bruin and Tobia, is the event space is that second floor, 2,100 square
Okay.
foot space that's being proposed.
Good.
With no outdoor use associated with any event that's going to take place indoors. Fair to say that?
Say that again, please.
Yeah, what I was getting at was, if you had a small party, 48 people, it was a small wedding or some type of engagement party, say, and, there'd be no like cocktail hour associated with that, that'd be on outside space that would then lead to dinner to your inside space. Is that accurate to say?
I would say with the space that we're creating, like workshops outside, I would say are typical. With the space, based on our operations retail-wise, like I said, this hasn't been having the events business. We never thought we were getting into that. This has just kind of grown into an opportunity to have that space. I would say our courtyard, as you walk in, I'm not sure how to answer that.
So,
You want to leave the opportunity open
Yeah.
for limited outdoor use of the courtyard space, I would assume,
Yes.
as secondary and overflow to the event space for the 48 people. See, I guess what Mr. Oler's getting at is
Mhm.
the cocktail hours in the courtyard and then the dinners up in the event space. You've got 2 areas now allocated to that one 48-person event. I think that's the question.
With more outdoor speakers and now more music that's outside, and, I think you need to paint a really good picture of what you're looking to do.
Okay.
So that, the board understands what they're approving or not.
Rich, I'm just thinking about this and trying to think of a way, because it's like, at some point, it's like, everyone has to enter from outside. What's the limit there? I think this will come into play as this application progresses and we're looking at conditions. But maybe something like, no meals served out, no alcohol outside, things like that, rather than no events. Because I think I understand what he's saying about like workshops and things of that nature,
Right.
related to the garden use.
Right, you might be
And
out
you don't
there.
want to get too granular because, it becomes an enforcement issue. But I think the idea here is that it's having 48-person events outside, with it sort of like a party. Obviously,
Right.
someone from your family, your company will be on the site, but still, that's a different thing than considering something that's fully indoors. So I think that's really what we're looking at. We're not trying to say you can't hold like a like a house plant workshop outside or something like that.
And we
Right.
could talk during a natural break, so the applicant doesn't make any battlefield decisions, but
Right.
perhaps maybe that's, as Kate said, maybe the touchstone point is that the catered portions of the event are the indoor portions of it, perhaps some of them. There's something we can actually objectively connect it to say.
Right, right.
That doesn't happen here as opposed to, being out there.
So no meals
Right.
outside and no live music outside.
I think something like that would be, something like that is objective enough. Yeah, and I'll
Right.
talk to the applicant to see whether or not they're okay with that, but you'd have to connect it to something, I think.
Okay, it's just events have a way of,
Growing and.
growing and getting pretty
Yeah.
loud.
Flowing.
Yeah. So,
Right. Okay, any other board members with questions? Any members of the, yes,
I have
Mr. Fisher?
one quick. Mike, you mentioned the hours for the cafe, the coffee shop and the banquet hall, but I don't ever recall you saying what the hours of the garden center itself was. When are hours, days a week of the garden center itself?
So the answer is 7 a.m., 6 p.m. And let me break that down for you. So 7 to 8 o'clock, basically, they're going to have kids coming in and water plants. Okay, 7 to 8, no retail sales. 8 o'clock retail starts. Matt's told me they won't start with leaf blowers until 9 a.m., right? And 6 p.m. on the close every day. Okay. We did point out in our application, we expect seasonal adjustments to these times. This is a business that really peaks in the spring, okay? They may not be open till 6 o'clock in November. But if we could just leave that window for a resolution, that'd be great, 7 a.m., 6 p.m. And the florist and home decor, if I didn't mention it, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily.
So there may be activities in the event space after the rest of the facility is closed.
Right, and you'll hear, we like that because there'll be no conflict as to parking or traffic. But we do expect evening events for event space. Sure.
I have one more question off of that. So I'm looking at the some of the information that was provided, and it's the coffee shop maybe open 7 to 4. Is that more like employees will arrive at 7? Same thing? Because if like the coffee shop is intended to serve the retail customers, then you would imagine it wouldn't open until 8.
No, I think, listen, coffee's a morning business, as you know. I think that'll open at 7, probably have minimal business until 8, but someone wanted to come in for a cup of coffee at 7, would you let them have a cup of coffee?
I think at around that time, like seasonally, our business is open between the hours. Like right now, we're in a slower period as in terms of garden center. As people are away on vacation, the heat is so hot. I think having the ability to adjust that.
Okay. So it sounds more like the answer is that the 8 a.m. open for retail is not always going to be. It sounds like you want to say 7 is when you're going to be open for retail sales in general.
It's a safer number, yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, because
It's likely just to be employees probably during that first hour for the most part, but open is open.
right, and some depending, you might have smaller scale contractors, something like that. Very okay.
But thematically, with being mindful of our neighbors, the applicant is not going to start utilizing power equipment until the 9 o'clock hour. That is something we're not going to do.
When I say the leaf blower, when a few leaves blow onto the patio or the front, it's like a quick blow anyway. But I always wait until after the morning has established. I'm not waking anybody up.
So what other power equipment do you use on the site
Really?
besides the leaf blowers?
I would say that's pretty much all we do in terms of power equipment, other than during construction. But really, it's just power equipment. I'm mindful of the neighbors in a sense that if there's a pile of leaves that fell off the tree in the fall, that we're not blowing the courtyard at 7 o'clock. That's going to wait until well into the morning, and then we're going to keep watering the plants, doing just the behind the scenes work and plant care and stuff like that. And that's kind of the mentality that we're at.
Okay. What about front end loaders or anything like backhoes, anything like that?
So our delivery, I believe for deliveries, is very quick and concise. Our deliveries are during operational hours, so no equipment use after operational hours.
So did you want to get to deliveries and how that's going to happen, or do we want to see the site plan first with Mr.
So-
Stewart?
We have traffic witness. Craig Paragoy is here. He's going to do loading, traffic, all that.
Okay.
Okay. And board members, any other questions? Members of the public, any questions? If so, please come up to the microphone.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity.
We gotta, wait till you get up to the
Use microphone.
microphone. And you gotta state your name and address, please.
My name is Matt Barkas.
Can you spell your last name?
It's F like Frank, Arkas. And I live at 8 Air Street, directly across from the coffee shop, the applicant. I've been living on the premises since 1999. I've been the homeowner since 2004. So, you know, a long time resident, long time Morris Township taxpayer.
Okay, what's your question? No, we're just doing questions at this point.
Oh, I apologize. I'm here to give remarks, brief remarks.
Well, then remarks are later on. Okay?
Respectfully, could I ask what the schedule is this evening? Will it be stopping at a certain time?
We stop at approximately 10 o'clock.
If I can't stay until then, do I have an opportunity to give?
We probably will not get through everything tonight.
You won't get to everything tonight?
Probably not.
Okay.
As much as everybody would love to, it probably doesn't happen.
We're going to talk really fast, Mr. Chairman. We're going to try.
We try to be realistic. Yes, it'll probably be, if you can't stay until 10 o'clock, there will be another night probably, in all probability.
Okay,
Can't guarantee it, but in all probability, yes.
thank you. I'd like to come back for that second
Look,
topic.
I'm not saying that there will be, I'm just saying in all likelihood there will be. I'm not guaranteeing a second night. If they get through everything tonight and it gets resolved, then it's done. But we go until approximately 10 o'clock. Okay?
All right, thank you. I have no questions. I want to give favorable.
Okay.
comments, So I'll hold those.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Sorry for the misunderstanding.
Not a problem. Any other members of the public with questions of these witnesses? Seeing none, hearing none, close the public portion. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Michael and Matt. Our second witness, our third witness, Mr. Chairman, members, Fred Stewart, our project engineer.
Fred, would you please stand, raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Fred, briefly for the benefit of the board, you're doing a tutorial first?
Yeah, a quick tutorial on his computer here, if you don't mind.
Fred's a PC guy.
I can tell he's not a Mac boy.
Yeah.
Not a Mac.
That would be me, by the way. Yeah.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
Okay, Fred Stewart, Stewart, professional engineer in Lancer Bear.
Okay.
This is currently in good standing, Fred, in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, it is.
And you testify regularly before boards in the state as well.
Yes, I have, including this one.
Okay. We'll accept them as a professional.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's see his tech skills now, though.
Okay.
Fred, you heard the introduction that I provided to the board at a high level as to what we're doing here, the relief we seek here, the operational detailed testimony from Mr. Toby and Gruen. And we started talking about the site plan layout a little bit and how we're reducing coverage, how we're tightening up the structures, and how we're repurposing buildings. If you wouldn't mind, Fred, and I think everything you're referencing is already filed plan sheet, give the board a tour through the property.
Sure, I'm going to be referring to my plans that are revised to 5/16/25, which I believe is the third revision, and I believe that's the board. The board should have those plans. Okay, so we're known as 383 South Street, which is lots 2 and 8, block 7307 in the RA15 zone. As you saw earlier from Mr. Toby, who did a very thorough job on the property, for the existing conditions. See if I can page again here. Here we go. All right, see, I'm already having a problem. There we go. Existing conditions. I stated earlier, South Street is to the right of the drawing or the east side of the property. A small bit of frontage there on South Street. Main frontage is on Pear Street, which basically runs across the whole frontage of our property. The right-of-way itself does. The roadway basically runs from South Street about halfway down that right-of-way area to our facility. There are 2 residential homes located to the north of us, to the north of Pear Street. One in this location here at the corner and one further back, which I believe the neighbor was just up here stating some comments. So as far as the other roadway goes, Whitney Ave, we have some small frontage on Whitney, located in approximately the center of the main body of our property. The property is, I guess you can say, a T shape, where the upper portion of the T is the longer axis along Pear. The lower portion of the T is along Whitney Ave. Majority of the buildings are located within the core of the T, right in the center of the property. With that, there was gravel areas to the west of those buildings in this section here, gravel area to the south, and just recently it was mainly lawn area, which is now more or less a display area for the garden center. And it does have some small walkways through, so you can actually enjoy a walk through the garden area. So with that said, there are a couple existing non-conforming conditions on the site, which now try and scroll over to that. There goes my tech skills. Too much there. Just bear with me. There we go. I'm trying to get down to my zoning schedule. There you go, Michael. How do you scroll down to my schedule? Where's Michael?
Can you use the pad? 2 fingers on the pad?
On the pad? That doesn't work.
Use 2 fingers.
There you go. Thank you. There, I'll go right in there. 2 fingers. Yeah, keep going up page 2. Yeah, right there. Scroll right in there. There you go. There we go. So there's 3 existing non-conforming conditions. One of them is being the minimum front yard off of Pear Street, which is the smaller building, which is the old boiler building. That's at 0.7 feet for a front yard, where 50 feet is required. Side yard, which is 14.8 feet, which is the building off of Whitney area, which I believe that was determined to be a front yard, if I'm
Yeah, I think that's a front.
stand corrected with that. So that would be another requirement of 50 feet. And the maximum impervious surface is at 51.4%, where 45% is required. And that's the existing non-conforming condition. Keep in mind that 51.4 actually does not include approximately 6,222 square feet of building that was previously removed. So that was taken out of that equation, which would have actually have added another approximately 6 to 7% of coverage onto this number here. So originally it was at about, say, 58%. We're now down to 51.4 because of the removal of those buildings that did exist at one point in time that were taken down. So here we go again. Sorry about this. There we go. Yeah. So I'll go to our proposed conditions. Again, very little change with the building area. Basically, one of those buildings was being removed in this section here. That is currently shown on the existing conditions plan. That's going to be our courtyard area, which we do have an option over to our upper right here, which is going to be an expansion of the greenhouse area and another, try this again. go. Just gonna scroll up a little bit. I just said I'm not a Mac guy.
Click and drag.
Come back, I think, here for a
Yeah,
little
I'll
bit.
stay up here.
Let's go up to the upper sheet 3, upper right corner. There we go. Right in that area there, which is the proposed reconstructed garden bay is what that would be called. And behind that, towards the bottom, this area here is a reconstructed greenhouse area. That's an option that we want to try and stick with. Not sure we're going to do that yet. It's going to remain a courtyard right now, but we want to leave that option open to gain that space back as greenhouse and center area there.
Does that impact the impervious numbers?
No, it doesn't, because it's impacted with the pavers that are there now.
Okay.
Okay, but it does impact our parking, which I didn't want to get into just yet, but I will.
Okay.
So basically, it's about a 3,000 square foot additional building, which would be, I would consider that as a warehouse area, which is a 1 stall for every 500 square feet. So you would need 6 more parking stalls based on the required amount of parking.
6 more?
6 more, which would then raise us to 87 stalls required. And right now, we show 82 stalls that we are providing. So without that optional area, we're at 81 parking stalls required. We meet that criteria. But with that added additional option, that would be another 6 stalls. That brings us up to 87, which then we would require a variance for 5 stalls, basically.
Okay, and the size of that optional building again, Fred?
Approximately 3,000 square feet. I think
3,000?
it's slightly more than 3,000, yes.
And Fred, I think the understanding from the applicant is the dilemma as to whether or not to construct this alternative or not is because the existing paver area is so beautiful and visually enjoyable. Several of the principals of the membership like to keep it. Others are being pragmatic, considering this could be getting you at least undercover for a point of sale if the elements are not cooperative, I think is why we're sort of in this limbo at the moment, I believe, right?
That's correct. That's why we're in limbo. And keep in mind, they just opened up, testing the waters. They feel they need it. They want the ability to provide it. Okay.
So you are seeking that approval tonight?
Yeah, the alternative. So
Okay.
almost like, we're almost like a bank approval, right? If we want to elect to build it, they build it down the road through a permit-only process because it's part of the approved site plan, because we're going to approve it. So
Okay.
they are seeking that.
And so that means that Rich, how do we handle the parking there? Because it's basically, it's not like they can put in more parking. So we'll just, the parking variance have to be approved
I
at the
think
same
we have to
time?
approve it now.
Yes, okay,
And-
yeah.
And I'll indicate if it's approved in a resolution indicating that, that's an optional building that may be built in the
Okay.
future, but the parking variance would be in place for it.
Right,
Okay.
we'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
That would be the applicant's request. So Mr. Pergo will testify to that parking shortfall, that delta that's created in this alternative scenario.
Right.
Mr. Pergo will justify it. It may never come to pass if they build it. I think we voted tonight. We don't all get a vote, but most of us voted for the pavers to keep it. Several voted for the greenhouse, so we don't know what would happen. But if it were developed, it would create that parking delta, that shortfall. So we would put the proofs in the record tonight for that shortfall.
Yeah, and so those numbers are 87 would be required, Fred, and we're proposing 81,
That's correct.
82 proposing?
82 is what we're
Okay.
proposing on site.
Okay.
For the 82 provided, can you just break down how many of those are in the public right of way and how many are on the property?
None of those are in the public right of way, which was going to be my next statement. The 10 that are across the street in the public right of way are not included with those numbers, the 82 or the 87.
Okay, so you would,
So that's in addition, we'll have those additional 10 stalls across the street from the building.
and those, for operational purposes, those 10 stalls in the public right of way are helping satisfy the operational need for that deficiency in the parking.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like I said earlier, there's only 2 residential homes on that street forward of us towards South Street, and those parking stalls benefit us, basically. They're right across the street from our main building.
Are those parking spaces used by anyone else?
Not that I've seen.
Is there, who owns the property directly adjacent the parking, street parking, the right-of-way parking?
The right-of-way parking, I believe that would be the old school building, if I remember correctly.
So that's the old office?
You know, let's go to the first page. Sheet 1.
Yeah, like who owns this property right here?
Yeah, that's correct. That would be the old school building, 7302 Lot 6, Block 7302 Lot 6. As you can see on the key map there, you got the corner lot, corner home, then the second house, and then that's basically a vacant parcel that has the school off of South Street,
Okay, so that's the old school ground, school parking lot.
right in here, yeah. That's the school property,
Okay,
all of Lot 6. And this is the proximity of the parking stalls, right in this
All right.
area here.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. It's just right there, yeah. Yep, and there's those, the existing parking stalls right in that area here.
Right.
You know, in the picture, that looked like it was in pretty good shape. How would you characterize it?
The parking area?
Yeah.
It's very, they dressed it up with the gravel. It's in very good shape. There's some
In the
landscaping
right of
around
way
it.
part, I'm talking about the parking in the right of way?
Yes, yeah,
And when you say they dressed it up, who was that?
the Bruins
Okay.
dressed up that area with some gravel just to, you know, get the gravel base back down on the driveway.
So they improved that area? Because it looks pretty nice in the pictures.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It's very nice, actually.
Okay. And there's a note, I don't mean to shortcut your testimony, but there's a note on the plan that if the council approves it, that Pear Street would be resurfaced by the applicant. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So for purposes of the board here, we're looking at Pear Street not being improved unless the council approves an application by you guys to do so,
That's what I've been told.
right? And
Yes.
you'll do that as a condition of approval to make the application,
Yes, they're going to seek the paving of Pear Street.
right? Okay. So Larry, it's not a condition that it be paved, but that you make the application to the council.
Absolutely.
All right, okay.
And currently, Pear Street is paved up to a certain point, and after that, it's gravel, which is, I believe, up to about the masonry building, right in this section here. I think it's paved up into that area.
So
This is
which
just gravel.
building is that?
That would be the first building on the left, if I remember correctly.
So that's the proposed welcome center?
Yes.
So,
Okay.
Rich, I think the easiest way to classify the improvements in the right of way is an understanding that it'll generally be worked out as a condition of approval through a license to operate in the right of way.
Okay.
Because it would be the committee's decision as to if confirming that we've ever accepted the roadway, if it was not constructed to municipal standards, which it appears to be substandard in its improvements, but perhaps we did so by maintenance or other means, and it could be under that license agreement worked out of exactly what the limits are that can be maintained by the operator, and what the municipal responsibilities are, or potentially a vacation of portions of the roadway, et cetera, to be incorporated into the property.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll continue with the parking. In addition to those 10 stalls across the street, we're proposing 7 stalls located near the main body of the buildings by the front door area, right in this section here. Those 7 stalls contain 2 handicap stalls. right adjacent to the doorway to the main section of the building, right here. That would be for the gift shop. And then for the garden center, again, entranceway right here. So they're directly nearby the main entries into the buildings. We are also proposing 2 EV stalls, which are located to the right of the page, right in this section here. As you can see, 2 stations right there. As you continue across or down Pear Street, you can enter our main parking area, which will contain 2 sets of 15 stalls, 15 across Pear Street, the frontage of Pear Street, and directly behind that, another 15. That aisle width is at 30 feet wide. We added some ample room for turning around movements. Typical dimension will be 24 feet wide there, and the stalls are all 9x18s. Continuing around the building, we have 4 more stalls located basically in the crotch of the building in this section here. To the right of that, we have another 24 stalls. Scroll down a little bit. There we go. All the way out to Whitney. Yep. And then to the left of that, we have 17 stalls, plus a loading-only stall, which is located by our loading area at the back of the building here. To the left of that loading area is our cooler. Right in the section here is our loading area, which is basically the back of the garden center. That way we have a designated stall for loading and unloading of a normal vehicle size or the car size vehicle. As you can see on here, we also have our movements for a larger tractor trailer coming onto the site. As you can see, they can maneuver throughout the site very easily. One reason why we have the 30-foot wide aisle in there is to assist that movement. And of course, deliveries are during operational hours, but they'll be on the low intensity days rather than like on a weekend. We'll have it during the week on a lower intensity day. So this way vehicles will not be in the way during their delivery. As far as the coverage goes, we are reducing the coverage. Existing coverage is at 55,553.8 square feet. We are reducing that by 4,473.8 square feet down to 51,080 square feet, which is giving us a 47.2% coverage. Required is at 45%. So we're slightly above that coverage, but we are reducing. And again, as I stated earlier, we reduced about 6,200 square feet of building before we even showed you these numbers here. So that would have been another 6% reduction that we did on the site to get us down to that 47.2%. So what we're showing from existing conditions today to where we're proposing is about a 4.2% reduction, but really overall it's almost a 10% or more than 10% reduction overall from what this facility was. The way we're doing that, we're actually reducing gravel area, which would be mainly in this section here. Right now, the gravel area is extended probably to about another 20 feet or so into this, what we're proposing a planting storage area. So we're taking away some of that gravel to obtain some of that reduction of the impervious coverage. As far as topography goes, we are having some minor changes with the topography. For the most part, the topography runs from South Street, scroll out, to the west, which is basically across our property to the back of our property, kind of like paralleling Pear Street. So runoff has come from South Street, going across all the way out to the back of the property. On the property, we do have a small drainage ditch right in this section here, leading to a drainage pipe that crosses Whitney. And we also have another drainage ditch located on our property. It's really not to benefit our property. That's kind of benefiting the neighboring properties. That runoff comes from their property into that small drainage ditch, and again, to a pipe that crosses underneath Whitney. The minor changes of the topography are basically right in this section here for the handicap stalls. We had to bring up those handicap stalls slightly to gain proper access or adaptable access into the building with the parking areas. They will be ADA compliant, or they are ADA compliant, well, along with the proper signage. As far as access points, we do have our traffic expert who will be talking to that. As far as the loading area, I already discussed that, located in the back of the building here with its own loading stall. As far as the drainage goes, there is existing drainage in place. Just zoom in right in that section here. As I mentioned earlier, runoff is coming from South Street, coming towards the back of the property along Pear Street, say. So we are picking up some drainage right in this section here with existing catch basins. Those catch basins were in place. They were basically, I don't want to say reconstructed. They were inspected, inspected, and determined to be functional, cleaned out, and they are functioning. That runoff does go, let's just zoom down. There you go. Basically goes towards that small drainage ditch located towards the rear of the property, right in this section here. That's the outlet for that. How it gets there, we're not 100% sure. It is underground. It's existing underground, but it drains out to here to that small head wall that then goes across with it. So there's no changes proposed. The drainage system is functioning fine. As far as the dumpster enclosure, we are proposing a dumpster enclosure right in this section here, right behind the loading area. Easy access for the building, come out of the building, go right to the enclosure. So that area will be enclosed. From what I understand, Mr. Bruin intends to put a roof over it as well, not just have it open, but there will be a roof along with the gates to access that proposed enclosure. There is a detail on the last page of this set of plans as well.
Does that detail show the roof?
No, it does not. But we can provide it on the detail. We'll revise that.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was asking.
Not that drastic. Typically, they don't have a roof.
Yeah.
Right. Got a question on that. You've got where the dumpster enclosure is going to be, but isn't there parking spaces directly in front of that?
Yes, there is.
Okay, so when's the dumpster going to be picked up? And
As far as the timing goes, typically I would say off hours, but they do have a wide range of hours. But I would say typically in the morning, we'll schedule that to get picked up. And again, they'll probably just wind up scheduling it on a not as intense use day, just like a delivery. So, and I don't see too many people parking that in this area, mainly for the retail time. This might be event space, I would call it, because most of the people that are doing the retail will be parking up in the front near Pear Street or just in the back.
right. But I can also see people parking there and then going through the courtyard to access the building. It's almost quicker, depending upon where you want to go.
I'm not sure if there's actually a courtyard access to that point.
Is there?
I would say right now, back there, it's our operations, we kind of have it tagged off. It's not, you could walk around the building there, but you can't.
Matthew,
Yes.
you need to use microphone, please.
Sorry about that.
You've been reprimanded.
Right now, as it stands, the way that we do it, we keep our employee section and receiving taped off from people to walk up there. I think that would be the same process for here. It wouldn't be transitable, inviting for someone to walk through the back there.
So how does that work for counting the parking spaces?
So basically what we do, if there are employee stalls that we're going to use back there in that section, we can say that 5 of those stalls could be employees only. And then we can schedule the pickups to come and relocate the employees temporarily. And this way, if there's a patron there, we don't have to worry about them moving when it comes time to pick up. So we can designate those as employee-only stalls in front of the dumpster location. I would say probably the first 4 would be more than sufficient.
Okay.
Okay, now going to the fencing. I know there's a couple variances that we will need for the fencing. There is fencing in place now. There is a 5-foot tall aluminum fence stemming from the Welcome Center along Pear Street going easterly, then along South Street, and then along, I guess, Lot 7 property line, right through the section here, and ends there. So it's a U-shaped metal fence, 5 foot high, and as stated earlier, maximum height is 3.5 feet in front of the buildings, which we are. So we're requesting a variance for the 5-foot height for that fence. There's a second fence continuing from that metal fence that ends at the corner of Lot 7, along the back of Lot 7, then along the rear of Lot 3 through here, then along this area here, which is along our parking to the rear that we were just talking about, and terminates right about in this section here. That's a 6-foot high white vinyl stockade fence. Again, in the front yard area, 6 foot high, requesting a variance because required is 3.5 feet high. Also, a second variance for that fence, which is the 25% openings that we must have. It's a stockade fence, there's no openings. So that's an additional variance we'll need for that white vinyl fence. Because again, it's in front of the building, facing Whitney. As far as the landscaping goes, we are proposing some additional landscaping besides what you saw in the photos. Of course, it's a garden center, but this idea here, or the intent here, is to help screen the fence and the neighbors from the site, including the fence, I should say, along this Lot 7 boundary. We're proposing plantings there. That's where we have 32 green giant arborvitaes. A second set of plantings along Lot 7, this section here along that fence line as well. That's where we're proposing another 21 green giant arborvitaes. Again, that's to help screen the neighbors from our facility. They will be behind or our side of the fence. They will grow above the fence height and add additional screening to those properties. Besides those, we are planting 15 trees. First set of 5 will be along South Street. Those are Japanese snow bells located right in this section here, 5 of them. Additional 5 are maples along Pear Street, located on our property. These trees are being planted on our property as well. So those 5 trees are along Pear Street up to the Welcome Center. And then additional 5 in the rear, which are white oaks, basically along the edge of the proposed parking areas from, I would say, the southerly corner near Whitney, going along northwesterly along the edge of the gravel out towards the westerly corner of the parking area. So those are proposed plantings that will be that are shown on the drawing. But again, as you saw in the photos, it's a garden center, tons of landscaping throughout the site. As far as the signage goes, there's an existing sign. Go back to sheet 3. Right there. There's an existing sign located at the intersection of Pear Street and South Street, right in this location here. It's actually about 12.5 feet into the right-of-way of South Street. We are seeking a waiver from the county for that sign to remain in place. As you saw in the photos, it was an older sign. It's been there for many, many years. We hope to keep it there. We're not hoping to move it back. It's in a perfect location for us right at the intersection. So we're seeking the waiver. If we don't get that waiver, we'll have to locate it back on our property. I would say our optimum location for that would be still right at the intersection maybe a foot off of each right-of-way line, and just place it right in that same, right in that location there if the county does not let us.
So if the county doesn't let you keep that sign where it is and you want to move it back onto the property, do you have a distance? Are we talking about a variance with respect to the location then?
I believe that would be a variance, yeah, it would have to be 1 foot. We requested to be 1 foot off of each right-of-way line.
1 foot?
Because any further back, it tends to be too far back from the actual traveled way of South Street. Keep in mind, the traveled way of South Street is about 16 feet off the right-of-way line. So we push it back behind the right-of-way, it's going to be 17 feet from the street, which is,
Okay. And there wouldn't be in any line of sight?
no. It is in the sight triangle now, but not in the line of sight. If you pull up to the side, pull up to South Street from Pear Street, you can clearly see around that sign.
So you show where the stop sign is? Are you talking about bringing it back to about where the stop sign is, or?
This darker line here is the right-of-way line.
Yeah.
So I would say the best location for us would be right in this section here. 1 foot off of Pear and 1 foot off of South.
Okay, so it's in front of that stop sign?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same orientation.
You okay with that?
And what are the dimensions of the existing sign?
I don't recall off the top of my head. I'll see if I have those in my notes.
Rich, that's one of the items in my review memos, to put the site triangles on the plan. Either with my office or Joe's office, if you can talk to us on how to set that site triangle, because it's based on the edge of traveled way, not the right-of-way line. So where it is right now, it's probably in the site triangle for the intersection.
Yes, it is.
I don't believe if they were to move it beyond their property line, it would be in the site triangle for the intersection, because that's based on the edge of traveled way, not the right-of-way line. But I would like, and I would get to that when we get to my report, but one way or the other, I'd like the site triangle added to the plan so we can see exactly where that stuff is.
I will say the sign that it's currently standing, what Mr. Tovia showed in the beginning is the exact hardware, the exact sign that's been there for years and years and years.
We understand that,
Just the name changed.
but we still want to make sure that the sight lines are there for safety purposes. So, Mr. Kelly, you got all that down? As far as sight lines and,
I've got all that down, yes, sir. I do.
Good.
You noticed that Mr. Fisher's report, and we'll make sure it works its way into there. Resolution points, plan set.
all right. Anything else?
No, I believe that concludes my testimony.
I know I asked a bunch of questions while we were going through this. Board members' questions.
This whole back parking lot area, what surface material is that?
Gravel.
So is that not, that shouldn't be included in impervious coverage, right?
So from a zoning perspective, as part of the improved lot coverage, it's for the zoning, as a zoning definition, it's improved impervious lot coverage. From a stormwater component, it'll have a curve number that'll range lower than 98%. So it'll be somewhere in the 80s more typically. So it'll provide some benefit of stormwater runoff. So if they've taken a paved area and reclaimed it as gravel, we're seeing a benefit to stormwater reduction.
Yes, but for zoning purposes, it's part of that lot coverage.
For the
got through this.
I think I think part of the reason for that, not that you specifically asked, is because gravel can be a variety of different densities. You know, sometimes it's much more compact than others, and so, you know, so you don't have to go out and look at all of that every single time. It's just considered to be coverage for that purpose.
Also, just to add one thing to clarify too, for the fence, people think about it as security. Some of that security for us is keeping the deer from eating some of the flowers that we have in the garden center. They're very hungry around here, so keeping things behind the fence is more for deer purposes as well.
Now, a portion of that fence is in the right of way of Pear Street, is that correct?
Slightly, yeah, that down near the intersection, it encroaches slightly by probably about 2 feet or so.
Does that have to be moved?
Wait, sorry, I didn't see that.
Right down there.
Oh, yeah, you're coming off site.
That's easier.
Can you relocate that back onto the property?
That would be a task.
Okay.
It is installed pretty well.
There's a pipe that drains water on the property when you're looking at out onto South Street. There's a pipe and there's a weird grade there. The way that the fence is set, it's aesthetically pleasing with the drainage for one of the pipes that drains water into our property.
So we can't ask this board for relief to grant us for an off-site improvement. We're going to have the governing body.
Yeah, and if you're going to go there anyway for the parking
Right.
issue that Joe mentioned for a license agreement, I would include the fence in
Two
that
asks,
agreement.
one submission.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we can't, you know, we just don't have the authority to approve something like that.
Right. Mr. Benoit, you look like you have a
Yeah,
question.
you mentioned the white vinyl fence. I'm wondering whether you've discussed that with your neighbor. I'm not real happy with white vinyl fences. I'm just wondering whether your neighbor knows that that's what you're proposing.
Yeah, so when we began the project, we were meeting our neighbors, and through the process, we've tried to have a conversation with everybody. We're very neighborly, I believe, and when we started the project, we wanted to put a white vinyl fence down the entire, down this entire fence line here.
When you say this, we can't tell where it is when you're looking at the computer.
So right up here when you're looking down at our property on the left-hand side, we wanted to, in an effort of providing the most privacy for our neighbors, put a white vinyl fence there. But upon a conversation with one of our neighbors, they opted for a more transparent fencing, which is the black aluminum, so they could see the landscaping a little more. But a conversation was had with our neighbors, and that was the decision that was made on that. And then towards the back where the white vinyl fence is being used, it's screened by, there's some plants and shrubbery, but in an effort of giving that other neighbor on the corner there privacy, the white vinyl fence. But we did talk with our neighbors and allowed them to give input on the fence that was chosen. And we made adjustments based on their requests.
Okay. Just checking. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other board members with questions? No? Any members of the, oh, yes, Mr. Fisher, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to go first. Just a couple quick site-related questions. You mentioned there were two EV stalls. Did you account for any parking credits from the EV stalls in your parking calculations?
No, I did not, which we can.
Just want to know, make sure the numbers are, I understand what's in the numbers. The next to the gravel parking lot, how are the stalls being marked? Is there going to be paint on the gravel, or how are you designating parking spaces in that lot?
Our intention is to have paint on the gravel, and I do have a note on the plan to refresh as needed, possibly every 3 months if necessary, which is noted on the plan as well.
While I have you, in my memo, there was some discussion about directional signs, particularly out to Whitney Avenue, without needing to go through the exact sign needed? Are you willing to work with the board professionals to determine the correct directional signage and whatever MUTCD signage we need?
Yes, we are.
And then we already covered the site triangles. And then is there any designated parking for the residents? Where will the spaces be for whoever's living at the house?
I'll have Matt answer that one.
I haven't given it any thought. Probably, I usually park in the back when I'm there, and if I were to be living there, I probably wouldn't move my car, probably somewhere in the back.
So either in an employee space or some other spot in the
Yes.
the back lot.
Actually, usually I park by the dumpster enclosure there so that I'll be on site when there's a dumpster and I can move my truck first off, and that's probably a good spot for my truck to land.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Those were my questions.
You could just get an EV, park right next to your house.
That is an idea.
Any questions?
No, I'm good from what I already previously asked.
Same for me.
Okay. Any members of the public with questions of this witness? Seeing none, hearing none, close the public portion.
Thank
Do we want to take 5 minutes?
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to take a 5 minutes. You'd like to call back to order the Board of Adjustment meeting for July 28th, 2025. Ms. Santiago, can you do a roll call quickly?
Mr. Trachtenberg,
Here.
Ms. Pilara. Oh,
So she's
okay.
had something come up where she has to leave, Larry,
Okay.
just so you're aware. She knows she'll read the transcript so that she'll be eligible to vote at the next hearing.
And we'll provide it to the board because Mr. Goldberg was not a conflict recusal. He just had to leave for the
He
evening,
had
I think,
something come
right?
up.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll make sure we do the-
family emergency.
I understand. We'll
Yeah.
make sure the transcript is here, so any board member that misses anything,
Yep.
we've got a fully constituted board for hopefully the last meeting. Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. Schuster,
Hi. Here.
Mr. Benoit,
Here.
Mr. Kramer.
Here.
Mr. Woodford,
Here.
Mr. Oler,
Here.
Mr. Boyce.
Here.
Ms. Keller.
Here.
Mr. Fishinger,
Here.
and I, Sonia Santiago, here.
Hey, Mr. Kelly, your next witness.
Yes, sir. Our project architect, Joseph Sofaro, will be our next witness. Mr. Chairman.
Would you raise your right hand, please? You solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Would you state your full name, spell your name, please?
Joseph Solfaro, Solfaro.
Thank you.
Joe, the benefit of your background experience and credentials for the board, please.
Registered architect for over 5 years in the state of New Jersey. Also registered a handful of other states as well. Been practicing for over 15 years.
Your license is current and in good standing,
Correct.
and you've testified before boards in the state of New Jersey before?
I have.
And you prepared the plans that are before the board in connection with this project?
Correct.
Okay, we'll accept him as a professional architect.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Architecture.
Joe, so
Architecture.
everything you're going to refer to tonight is part of a submitted packet, albeit digital, for this evening's presentation, right?
That's correct. They should all have a copy.
So you've heard the testimony of your predecessor witnesses, the operational witnesses that we've had. You've heard Stewart walk the board through the civil engineering details. And you heard there were a few questions that floated for you, including ADA accessibility, event space, and a few others. If you wouldn't mind, Joe, we could sequentially start walking the board through the structures as proposed with their uses, elevations and floor plans. We can sort of do a sequential. So we've got a lot of different moving parts to our structures and our use here.
Sure. So we've taken you through the site plan, and this is a 3D representation of what that is. So on screen left, you'd be on South Street. We're basically flying over Pear Street right now, and you're seeing the front of what you would drive down Pear Street of what we're calling the refreshments greenhouse or welcome center. So that building right now is that old dilapidated boiler building that we're looking to repurpose as kind of like an entry space and a greenhouse slash kind of cafe, coffee shop, right? So that existing structure is there now. There previously was a greenhouse, so we're proposing to put that greenhouse back. does not currently exist. As you proceed down Pear Street, you're seeing the residential home. Next to the residential home and what we're calling the wooden garden bay is what is currently the courtyard right here in the center. And that's where we're proposing that second option where there used to be a wooden structure with about an 84-foot long greenhouse previously. There was one right there. Right now it's a courtyard. As you continue to go down Pear Street, you see the wooden garden center. In the back is where a lot of that maintenance is happening when you're connecting that to the site discussion that we were having earlier. In the front of that is where we're doing kind of point of sale, and you kind of progress through the internal workings of the site and the courtyard there. That's kind of the core of the site in a sense. Right out front of this building is where the ADA parking is. Next to it is the florist shop. It was the florist shop. It still is the florist shop. And as you continue to the right in that existing building that's been kind of constructed is the gift shop or house shop sales on the first floor. And on the second floor is that what we're talking about as an event space. In the back of the group, it's pretty clear to you guys, but in the back, which I kind of passed over, are the triple set of greenhouses that exist today as well. We're proposing them to be more permanent than what they exist today. Right now, they exist as kind of dome-shaped, plastic-covered greenhouses, which is what they always were. Okay. In regards to ADA and accessibility, the site has been drastically approved, both the site and all the buildings, to be ADA compliant. There is some grade change as you go through the site as well as through the buildings. So most of the grade change when you're inside the buildings is actually in the wooden garden center. You'll see ramps and steps that allow you to make your way through. Okay. Here's a floor plan of kind of the opposite, all the way at the end of Pear Street. So you're seeing the gift shop on the right with ADA bathrooms, a prep kitchen, which would be where the catering company comes in and can kind of set up as they may serve upstairs. It's got the gift shop, a register area, and 2 offices as well. It's connected to what we're calling the shop entrance, which really connects you to the wooden garden center as well. And you have the flower shop in the center and the florist workshop in the back there. You see a storage area. That's kind of where a lot of the maintenance happens and deliveries. And then to the left is that courtyard space, which we're also proposing as an alternate option to maintain that structure. Okay. In terms of ADA compliance, everything has been drastically improved from a very set of dilapidated buildings. All these buildings really exist where they were before. In fact, there were a couple more, like a garage that has been taken away and such. In regards to the question about an elevator, so we fall under the threshold for that event space to require an elevator through the ADA code and ANSI 1117. So we don't actually need one. There's 2 thresholds. It's the amount of stories that you have in a building and the amount of square footage that a space would require. And we're both under both of those thresholds. Okay. So that's the back. This is the second floor. This is what we're calling that assembly event space. So you have 2 toilets up here. You have 2 means of egress. You have a stair here that brings you down and out, which would be that entrance right over here in the corner that Michael was talking to us about earlier. And then there's another stair that brings you down here, both at opposite corners. That's generally what they are in terms of egress code for code compliance. Is you need to spread the stairs out so that it's safe. You can't put them in the same spot. It's really that simple. As we make our way closer to South Street, moving down Pear, as you would enter, you're seeing what we're calling the Welcome Center and the Refreshment Center, and it's very close to the house that exists today. So you're seeing both the house and the Welcome Refreshment Center, and then this is the courtyard in the back. That's that gray box. So that's how you connect the dots between these 2 plans. These are additional views of what the house exists today. It's basically a 2.5-story house with the cell. Here are your elevations. So this is the one at the top is how you would look at the buildings if they were flat, proceeding down Pear Street. Okay. Welcome Center on the left. These are the remodeled greenhouses that are beyond. This is existing residence. We have our courtyard here, and we're showing kind of a gray area behind it of what the option would be if that were to be the actual building. Here's the remodeled greenhouse, or wooden garden center, wooden garden bay as we call it. Flower shop in the middle, and then the gift shop below and the event space above. The second elevation on this sheet is from the back side. So it's the exact opposite of what we were just looking at. How do I get there? Okay, here we go. So coming from the right-hand side of this elevation, that would be South Street. So you see the Welcome Center Refreshments Greenhouse in the back, and now in the foreground, you're seeing the triple greenhouses. Beyond, you're seeing the residence, you're seeing the courtyard with the structure option, and we continue to proceed to the wooden garden bay, flower shop, remodeled gift shop with the event space above. Parking all the way on the left in this, and somewhat in front of the remodeled gift shop and the flower shop, connecting to our site plan earlier. Let's zoom out here. This is what you would see when you're walking from this first elevation at the top is what you would see when you're walking from the parking lot in the back. You would see this is the entrance to the house shop, the gift shop. This entrance right here would be to the event space at the top, and the second entrance with the staircase to the back right. Flower shop here. Some more parking as you go around that way. And then this is what you would see from the front. This is what you would see from South Street, the main road here. You'd see 3 greenhouses on the side. And again, this is over 250 feet back. We're just showing the structures here. So you're really going to see a lot of plants in the foreground. Okay. This is what the view of the structure would be. Okay. So I think that's a fair overview of the structures that we have. If you'd like me to zoom into anything, or,
Very good.
happy to take it from there. Okay.
Board members, any questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, we didn't look at the interior. I'm just curious, the kitchen area in the events place, that is designed to meet the requirements of the Township Health Department?
That's correct.
That's been done?
Correct. We've gone back and forth. The letter that she was referencing previously has been addressed, and so now it's all been updated to meet what is not. There's no real threshold of catering versus not, as we understood it. So it's a full-blown commercial kitchen, basically.
So then the coffee shop?
Yeah.
The kitchen facility for the coffee shop?
There's no kitchen facility for the coffee shop.
Okay. And it doesn't need to be, in other words, the kitchen facility, the events doesn't need to somehow support the coffee shop? There's no requirement of that?
Yeah, there's no requirement
Okay.
for a coffee shop, no. Coffee shops operate in different ways. Sometimes you just buy pastries if you wanted to sell pastries. We haven't had that discussion, but sometimes you go out, I know a lot of my coffee shop clients go out and buy pastries from a baker, and then they just sell them. But the purpose of this coffee shop is really just for refreshments, hot cocoa, and things like that, to my understanding, because you're going to buy your Christmas trees and it's cold. You want some hot cocoa and various things like that.
Okay, but I guess you could cook things in that kitchen, bring them to the.
You could, yeah. It is a commercial kitchen.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
This goes to what we were talking about with the health department before.
Right,
They stated
exactly.
that they do not intend to bake things for sale here. But either way, it's still a retail coffee shop. But the testimony and the operation statement was that nothing will be prepared to sell on site.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
What about any trash facilities or either in a coffee shop or in the food prep area for the event center?
So with the kitchen, to meet health code, we'll have various refuse bins for that purpose, which will get taken out into the trash bin that we have all the way by the maintenance area, which will get just regular use. And then the Bruins have certainly spaced refuse bins throughout their property at different locations because they want to keep it clean and tight.
Maybe I'm missing something, but Is there any air conditioning units anywhere on this facility, and where are they located?
There are, so in the event space here, you'll see a mechanical space, two
Right.
mechanical rooms. Those support this structure. And then over above this wooden garden center here is an attic space that has a mechanical unit as well, and that supports these structures.
Okay.
Okay, in the coffee shop, there'll be a little bit of an attic space. That's where the mechanical unit will go there. The houses, we haven't determined where that would go, but we do have a cellar space and we do have attic space, so that can be self-sufficient on its own.
What about the outside, any outside condensers?
There are condensers. I don't have it shown on the architectural plan, but there are two condensers here. I think you'll see those on the site plan at this corner right here.
Yes, there's several on the site plan,
Right.
including behind the gift shop with the place of assembly. There's two there, one behind the garden center, etc.
All right. No problems with their location?
It's not to me.
Okay. Any other questions from board members? Any members of the public with questions of this witness? Seeing none, hearing none. Okay. I'm good with the architect.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
So with the board's permission, I know we've got a little time before you.
Do you want to go to the public now and have them do questions, and then we do the traffic next?
Yeah. Because I don't know, all that's good. Bidding, traffic.
All right, and then we can finish for the night, and then we come back to the. Okay, and then you can address any of those other questions. Right, we can have the traffic, you know, our questions about the parking. Okay, good. All right. You good?
He's not gonna get it done.
All right. You good? All right. Okay, we're going to go a little bit out of order now because the next witness of the applicant would spill over past 10 o'clock. So we're going to ask any members of the public who wish to make any comments on this application, they can be heard now. Now, they have to understand that they're making these comments without the full presentation. So there may be things coming up later on that they would wish to comment about. But by commenting now, if they can come back and comment later on these other things, but since they said they may not be able to be at the next meeting, they're welcome to comment now if they wish. So Mr. Farkas.
I'd like to, thank you.
Again, can we have your name, please?
First, Matt Farkas, Farkas.
Okay, Mr. Farkas, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that any statements you make to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
I have no prepared remarks. I thank you for the opportunity. As I mentioned a moment ago, I'm the other homeowner on Pear Street, and I've resided there since.
Just 1 second, because he's turning a microphone on so you can be recorded.
I've resided on Pear Street since 1999. I've been the homeowner since 2004. No prepared remarks. I did appreciate the opportunity to receive notice of the hearing this evening and wanted to convey my support of the application. I've known the prior owners of the property for many years. I saw that business evolve and eventually close. And as one might imagine, I've had concerns about the future of the street and the use of the street. It's a small dead-end street. Again, I'm the only other homeowner on the street. And I've been delighted at the evolution of the street and the consistent usage that the Brown family is bringing to the street. I find it all in good taste and nice to have compared to many other alternatives that I could foresee as a homeowner. And I've enjoyed the improvements, and I've already had a taste of the traffic and the business usage, and I'm comfortable with all of it. And I hope that the application is approved. I find the additional usages that have been described to be consistent with the character of the business and the character of the street. I'm referring to the light food preparation and the coffee business and the modest event space. And I've started to see the fruits of it, and I'm very pleased. And I wanted to make sure that your body had that information, since I am a direct stakeholder in the character of the street, and I have been for many years, and I hope to, for many years going forward. So I hope you find that helpful and persuasive. And I'm happy to answer any questions, leave my contact info, etc.
Oh, thank you. Any questions from board members? Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you again.
Any other board members? Now, you realize you can make comments at the end of the entire presentation, but you can.
When is the next meeting?
Okay. When would this be carried to? Do you know, Sonia?
Thursday. Got a concert to go to that day. Billy Joel. Canceled. It's a tribute band at St. E's. I had tickets.
In August.
August is closed.
What do we have?
I have a viewing, Bert.
Oh, we have viewing?
Cabana, I'm a shed. Mhm.
So we don't want to put any, you don't want to go on that night.
And then I have.
Yes.
It helps. We expect 10 minutes, my end, of testimony on the Ewing matter that night, and we're going to conclude.
Okay.
That's all we got. No other witnesses is what I'm saying.
All right.
Okay.
But there's always the public.
I can't control that, but I can only tell you about my side.
And they have been vocal.
Yes, they have. Can you control the weather?
So there's 3 applications on for August already.
For August.
In September.
What are the other 2 applications in August?
One is for Cabana, the other one is for.
Are you
shed.
saying you could finish tonight if I don't speak?
No.
No. And then I have 2 additions and a 2-car garage.
Oh, those won't
are
take-
easy.
Those are easy.
That's
That-
September.
They'll
Yeah.
look like September 29th.
Would August be possible just to be on the agenda for now, assuming we get down to just 1.5 witnesses remaining, if we get through most of Mr. Paragoy this evening, and then we're only down to Mr. Tobia, at least as a placeholder for
What's in
August, in
August?
case somebody else carries or loves a notice, whatever maybe?
2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ewing and what else? That's it?
No, I have one for Cabana and the other one is for a shed.
Those are 15 minutes each, so it's Mr. Ewing that was the.
It's just viewing here.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
I mean, I only ask because the applicant's, incredibly eager to hopefully conclude this in short term, and I realize that's not your problem, but if you had the opportunity, we're willing to sit here, whether we're reached or not.
It is a problem if we need a flower arrangement.
reminded.
If we put you in August, you may not be reached. I mean, that
would be.
it's an expensive night
Yeah.
for knowing that.
I would say for now, I know we're not concluded yet, but I would say when we make the carry, once we conclude this thing, maybe we at least carry to that date. This way, at least notice preserved to the first possible date. And if it looks like it's not shaking out, we'd be reached, we could then send a letter into Sonia and just punt it to September.
Yeah,
But
well-
at least we've got a
well,
shot at the first available date.
We've got an application on, it's a residential application, but there's been vigorous opposition from neighbors, including two who have retained attorneys.
I've heard from Michael, yeah.
Yeah, so,
He creates a lot of problems. I am aware, I'm well aware.
and there's some revisions to the plans that are coming in, so that will be discussed and thoroughly digested by the neighbors and thoroughly hashed out by the neighbors.
If we put you in August, your client would have to understand that you may not be reached because Ewing's going to go ahead of you.
No, I understand.
And we're going to finish that. And I know Michael thinks he's 10 minutes in testimony, but the objectors are going to be, 2 hours.
I would say we could, for now, we take it, at least we placehold that first date, and if it looks like it's not going well, we could always just carry it September. Maybe we don't even show up in August if it's looking really bad, ultimately, once we get there. If you're willing to let us at least make our way on that agenda for now.
We can put them there
But it's not going to shorten
and
Mr.
then
Ewing.
carry you into
And
September.
then we carry if we
Yeah,
need
we have to carry it to September. I just hate to see you bring everybody
Yeah,
here
no, I would as well.
Yeah,
when you're not reached.
right.
I appreciate it.
Have you been following all that?
I just don't want to hold up the applicant because this is something we're in favor of. So if I can speak tonight, that would be great.
Yeah, it would actually shorten the August meeting if that's the case, so
Yeah,
we could take them right now. I
Yeah.
think your traffic guy, we're not gonna finish him anyway, right?
Maybe not, yeah,
So-
but at least we're getting closer, we're down to one to go at that point.
Yeah.
Going back to my.
And then it's just traffic and then planning.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dr. Janice Smeal, and I'm here to speak on
Can you
behalf
spell
of
your last name, please?
S as in Sam, Miell.
And would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that any statements you will give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I
Thank
do.
you.
What's your address, Ms. Neal?
22 Prospect Place,
Thank you.
otherwise known as Block 7301.1. I'm also speaking on behalf of my husband, Jim Coons, who lives with me there. We've been living at that address for 37 years now, since 1988. We lived through the previous two owners of that property and several years of vacancy of that property. And we heard about all the potential things that could have been done with that property. And we are so happy to see a garden center returning to that property. But more than just the use of it, the owners of it have been more than conscientious with the neighborhood. We have had conversations from the time they first stepped foot on the property about their plans and how it may impact us and how we felt about it. And there was always back and forth with an open mind to change plans if there was any concern about the way things were going. Not only that, but this is a big family that has experienced years of community service. And in fact, they're all firemen, the boys. And so as first responders, they actually jumped into action when our neighborhood had an accident occur across the street from their place. They went and helped without any questions. So they just have the mentality to be considerate to the neighbors. Furthermore, I think that there is an unmet need in Morris Township, especially our part of the circle. for event space. And I'm happy to hear that this is another potential place to be able to have a little meeting without having to go to a restaurant. The noise is really not a concern. They've had music in their courtyard, which has been rather pleasant to hear on nice days when you're outside. Unlike some of the ball games that we get and concerts from across Ginty Field, and we were laughing about the carnivals that used to occur, that no one cared about that noise pollution. Other concerns that I would have had would be the impact on our property value. And I actually think this probably raises our property value, having them next to us. The state of disrepair that the previous owners left the place in was horrendous. And I think there were several times we had to call the township just to get the lawn mowed next to us because the weeds were just getting so bad. So in short, we are very happy to have this new business happen. We have no concerns about them controlling any events that happen there. And we hope that you agree with us. And if there are any questions from a neighbor perspective, I'm certainly happy to respond.
Thank you very much. Any board members with any questions?
She spoke for me.
Okay, thank you.
Even with that,
Your name,
Wait,
please?
sorry.
Jim Coons,
Would you raise
22
your right hand,
Prospect
please,
Place.
Mr. Coons? Do you solemnly swear that any statements you will make to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. As my wife stated, we have lived there since 1988, and over the course of years, we have seen this property just slip into despair. And under construction, the noise level, you couldn't even hear. Our dogs bark at a squirrel or a leaf blowing, never barked. They kept that property clean under construction. They kept the property updated. They let us know every step of the way, the neighbors, what they were doing, how they were going to do it. Our concerns, they were only looking out for the neighborhood, to make the neighborhood something better, more eye-pleasing. And like I said, 37 years we lived there. I have never seen this property look so nice. And we're hoping that the board sees the same thing, sees what's going on there. Noise level, I hear more Ginty Pool and over at the ball games than I do next door. And getting back to the music, I'd rather hear the Guns N' Roses or AC/DC. They're turning me into a country and western lover. I never liked country and western. So, but anyway, I'm in support, and so is the neighbors in the neighborhood. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Seeing none, hearing none. Mr. Cowley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we'd like to at least start with our traffic engineer this evening.
Okay.
If you would so permit, Mr. Chairman. So we'll call Craig Paragoy, our traffic engineer for dynamic traffic, who submitted the initial report, a responsive report after Mr. Fissinger issued his review memo.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give to this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And your name for the record, please?
Sure. My name's Craig Paragoy, Peregoy.
Craig, I know you've testified in the township a number of times, I believe before both boards, but for the benefit of the record, your license credentials and confirm they're current and in good standing?
Yes. Licensed professional engineer in New Jersey, traffic engineer for 25 years. I testify on a nightly basis, including here in Morris a number of times. And I've already put everyone to sleep. Just with the credentials.
No, just pulling out your report. Just pulling out your report. Okay, we'll accept you as an expert in the area of traffic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, Craig,
Yeah, I promise this will not be a long-winded.
I'll let you wake the board back up.
Yeah.
All right.
obviously, we're looking at a site that was historically run as a garden center, and that primary operation is still remaining. So, you know, it was almost questionable. Do you need to consider traffic impacts? Because when we look at traffic generation based on the ITE, or the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual, they have a land use for a garden center. That's the primary use that's here, and that's the primary use that's going to be there. But the event space and the cafe, coffee shop space could be considered not part of a traditional garden center. So I did want to try to dig into that a little bit more and see what kind of delta there was in terms of adding those two spaces. The event space isn't something that the ITE has traffic data on because it's so variable. You know, if you think of like a wedding hall or a banquet hall, some days there's nobody there, some days it's very busy, so it's quite variable. Fortunately, New Jersey DOT didn't stand for that because they build those types of things on state highways, so they do provide rates, traffic rates based on the number of seats. So that information was easy to come by. The cafe, not so much, because it's, again, as you heard from the prior testimony, it's really to serve patrons who are walking around the garden center. It's not a Dunkin' or a Starbucks or something like that. If I were to use that information, the numbers would be are crazy. Those are on large highways drawing in traffic. But the ITE does have a land use called a fast casual restaurant, sort of like a Panera Bread, like you walk up to a counter and order. So I said, okay, well, that's the closest fit. So using the DOT numbers for the event space and that fast casual space, and then going through the procedure that ITE has for calculating the internal capture of the interaction between those, I think the numbers that I come up with are pretty reasonable in terms of the traffic generation increase over just the garden center. We're looking at the weekday morning, weekday evening, peak hour, the rush hour time period, the busiest hour, and then Saturday midday time periods. That's what, you know, as traffic engineers, we'd analyze. So the weekday morning, that delta or that increase is 11 vehicle trips. The weekday evening, 15 vehicle trips. And the Saturday midday, 22 vehicle trips. Doesn't mean a lot, I'm sure, but typically you look at a traffic study when there's 100 or more peak hour trips being added. That's what New Jersey DOT, that's the threshold for what they call a significant increase in traffic. So we're well below that. And those numbers, just in speaking to the applicant and their expectations, sort of made sense. That all is kind of the additional increase you expect to see from the less traditional garden center uses. So based on that, we wouldn't expect there to be any traffic impacts, and that was sort of where I left it initially. Mr. Fishinger made a good point, your traffic engineer, that there's a lot of traffic data available on South Street. There's our office has done prior studies, so we've done counts. The New Jersey DOT publishes counts there. So we had the information. So he said, look, let's just analyze that intersection and just see if we're having any issues there. So I thought that was a fair point. Had a lot of data points. Our office collected counts there in 2015 and 2016, and DOT has multiple data points from 2017 to 2020. So I basically picked the highest, the worst case scenario, and then grew that by 2.5% per year to get to today's numbers. Realistically, we haven't seen that kind of growth. Since COVID, we're barely getting back to, I'd say, 2018 numbers or 2019 numbers. But again, looking at the absolute worst case scenario, this is more of a test analysis than you know, figuring out exactly what it's going to be. I distribute the traffic that I mentioned before, including the garden center that was there and is going to be there, onto that traffic volume. Did the analysis of the intersection, and the results came out good. The levels of service are acceptable. The available capacity of coming out of Pear Street on South Street is way higher than their best dreams of the amount of traffic they could expect. So I was glad to have that extra layer of analysis, and it kind of worked out as I expected, again, with that insignificant increase in traffic. So that's the traffic side of things. As far as the parking, I know a lot of it was discussed earlier today. We do have the 2 EV spaces that we can add that was mentioned before. So we have 82 parking spaces that are on the site physically. The law says we have 84 parking spaces because you get to double count the EV spaces. And then there's 10 spaces across the street that was discussed earlier on Pear Street. So you're really up to a legal total of 94 parking spaces. The plan without the optional building only required 81, so there was no issue there. Now, if we do put that optional building in there, I think the number was 6 additional parking spaces. So there's a little bit of a delta there, but obviously that's clearly taken up by the parking on Pear Street. The other thing to keep in mind is all these activities on the site don't have their parking demands at the same time. You heard the hours of operation being staggered. So a lot of what's driving the parking demand is that event space. Well, the only time events are happening, generally the cafe is not operational or there's less people at the garden center. So that comparison, that delta ebb and flow, I'm able to calculate and do a shared parking analysis. And that's based on the ITE also has a parking generation manual, just like I used to generate the traffic numbers, it generates the parking numbers. I actually went through your ordinance, fitting those uses in requires 81. If I run those numbers through the ITE, it gives me 80. So pretty close actually. But when I do that shared parking analysis, like actually physically looking at the different times of day, and that data is all published, like at the 2 o'clock hour, this use generates 75% of its peak demand, and then it goes to 80%, and so on. You do that for each of the uses, and you find out how many parked vehicles would be there at one specific time. And based on that spreadsheet, not thinking of their hours of operation, just in general, from what I have, the maximum at any one time would be 61 cars on a weekday, 68 on a weekend. Now, since I ran that calculation, the hours of operation have been more solidified. So if I take any of those percentages, like say the event space had at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a certain amount of parking, well, it's close, so 0. If I go through and 0 out when they're not open, the different uses, it goes down to 44 parking spaces. So realistically, 99% of the time, the 7 spaces in the front, plus maybe some on the opposite side on Pear Street are going to serve this. You're going to have springtime, like Mother's Day weekend, where the garden center gets busy. You might need some of the overflow in the back and the event space, but it's a perfect scenario for overflow gravel parking because most of the time it's not going to be used, but it's there to capture everything. We're not going to have people parking on the street in the neighborhood. I was given, when we first started this process, a few different locations that were sort of the inspiration for this. All of them had a lot more features. One had a wine bar, a pizza shop, all these things. The most of any of those 4 had 75 parking spaces. So there are larger, more uses, less parking. It obviously works. So I'm certainly very comfortable with the amount of parking.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
We had discussed with Mr. Kelly at the break that we're sort of uncomfortable with the idea of having the parking spaces right by the dumpster location and the loading dock area, the loading area.
Yeah.
And if you eliminated like 5 spots there, it would make that area like, especially if like a large truck comes in. How's a truck going to get there if somebody's parked there? So we might be asking that those spots not be counted as parking spaces, so it would reduce the numbers. And I just wonder how that would affect you.
Like I said, I'm perfectly comfortable with that because the most, kind of looking at a worst case scenario on a weekend where the garbage truck's probably not coming, but on a weekend, the most at any one time you'd see parked would be 68 spaces based on, I think, a fairly conservative approximation. So I don't think it's an issue to not stripe in front of that dumpster. And if for some reason there's a larger event or that the more people drove to, you could still physically put the cars there knowing that the garbage truck isn't going to come at night when you might have an event. But realistically, yeah, I agree. I don't think they need to be striped. And then you leave it wide open and the garbage truck, nobody has to move their vehicles. I think that's fine.
Yeah, and they're not really striping any spaces, right?
Yeah, well, they're temporary, like spray paint striping just for when that's going to be in use. I would suggest, the springtime is when you refresh that because that's the time when I think you might see some more activity in that lot. If somebody's having an event, it's easy enough to just help them guide them into the parking spaces. So rather than having paint flying around all the time, I would just suggest that they do that in the springtime. I, defer to your board's traffic engineer if he agrees with me, but it just doesn't seem that number of parking spaces striped back there is going to be necessary for the bulk of the year.
Okay. All right. Continue.
Yeah, and then the review letter, I don't know if I hopefully touched on everything. I saw that I had 2 typos in there. I had on the report, the level of service, it said existing, it should say future, copy and paste thing. Just looking at, we agreed to any of the signs for the Whitney Avenue access to bring to MUTCD. The idea of the access on Whitney, not open to the public, really not to be used, but if you did have an event where like, say 30 or 40 cars were leaving at one time, you could open that up to just get them out of there quicker rather than sending them all down Pear Street. So the flexibility to have it is good, but it's not going to be used.
Is that going to be gated? Or is that?
I don't know if gating it, I mean, I would think maybe a signage or even cones, but I don't know.
Yeah, because, I'm thinking also about emergency vehicles if they ever had to come in
Yeah,
there.
that and just,
You don't want it gated for emergency vehicles.
and if somebody does wander down Whitney Street, like I tested today, I knew where I was going, but I still wanted to just drive down there. It's real narrow and it's kind of an awkward K-turn. It would be a lot easier if they did make that mistake, if they could just get into the property. So I would suggest maybe not a gate, but signage. You wouldn't know that you could get into this property if you didn't know, like if you weren't looking at plans like I had been looking.
Right.
It doesn't read that you could get in there.
It's not instinctive to go in that direction.
The signs up on Pear Street, you can see the facility. It's just, you wouldn't go there unless you knew it existed.
Okay, anything else?
No, I think that was it. Unless, Joe, if there's something in your letter I didn't get.
I believe Mr. Paragoy covered everything in my memo with regard to the Whitney access. I think if we came up with, authorized use only or some sort of signs just to discourage regular use. And I'm sure if they have, or I guess I should ask, if you have a large event and you need to have people using that, there'd be someone on site to direct them out that access on the occasional, on Mother's Day when you need to empty out that parking lot. Would ask, is there going to be enough staff on site to be able to point people out that exit when it's necessary?
Okay.
Well, Joe, they have on their plan, it says signs that say exit Pear Street only. Is that sufficient?
I would prefer something a little clearer because by the time you get to those signs, you're kind of committed. So we can work out
Okay,
better.
so
We'll figure it out. Yeah, we kicked
better
around.
messaging
Okay.
with signs.
Okay.
Turn around. And then the other thing we're talking about was the sight lines at the entrance, at the exit on the
Yes,
South Street.
with their sign in the right of way, it's probably in the site triangle, but I think they already agreed to add that to the site plan so that we can see exactly where the site triangle is.
Yeah, we'll add that site triangle, and if we need to make any adjustments, and again, right now it's in the counties right away, so it's going to be
Right.
their call.
I think there's also some flexibility there with the sighting of that stop sign, given the extent of room from the edge of pavement of the county road to the right of way. So there's some room to work with both the signage to the property, the wayfinding signage, and the street sign and the stop bar, the stop sign and the stop bar to orient all of that better for traffic.
All right. Board members, any questions? Yes.
Chairman, if we don't have parking in front of the trash area, do we need to lower the number of parkings in the variance? Do we need to identify a different number of parking spaces?
It would be, yeah, we would need some idea how many we're omitting. Is it 4?
What was it? 4. I think the engineer's testimony was 4. So 4 would come off, but there's the 2 EV credit that wasn't taken into consideration. So technically, we'd be providing 79 spaces, whereas, is that right? No, we have 82.
It would be 80.
80 spaces,
Is it 82 provided?
whereas 87 is required.
And that's other than Parking across the street.
That does not include, yeah, and
Correct.
the justification for that is there's 10 spaces right across the street that serve nothing else but this property, so.
And that includes the parking needed for that optional building?
Yes. That's the only thing that triggered the technical need for the variance by calling that a warehouse. The space in there is going to be exactly the same, whether or not there's a roof on it or not, just changes the technical requirement.
Okay. Any other questions from board members? Any members of the public with questions? Seeing none, hearing none. Mr. Fisher, any other questions? Any other questions? Okay,
9:58, just the number of the wire.
we're good.
No overtime.
All right, I guess that's it for tonight.
So we're gonna be down to one witness, Mr. Chair and members, so we might as well Toby testifying in his capacity as a planner, and then we're gonna conclude at that point. We know we've got a few open questions of the board, including what event space uses, type, and details would occur outside. Our team will discuss that. We'll report back to the board on the specifics as to what might be proposed beyond the actual event space on the property as part of our planning testimony. And again, we appreciate the board putting us on the August agenda, understanding there's no promise we'd be reached. But us being down to one witness, I think puts us in a good spot that we are reached.
Yes, and he's going to be here anyway.
Yes, exactly. I'll bring him a Gatorade after he's done with the other one, so.
Andy, what's the August date?
August 25th.
25th?
Let's just make sure.
And we'll make sure we get the transcript into Sonia this way.
Right.
August 25th.
August 25th.
All right, so for members of the public, this meeting's being adjourned at this point. It will continue on August 25th in this room at 7 PM. There'll be no further notices from the applicant.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. Enjoy the rest of the summer.
Thank
Will
you.
do. Okay. Board members, anything else we have to discuss?
No, I don't have anything.
Mr. Oler, anything we have to discuss?
I don't have anything else.
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Meeting adjourned.